calmly by the nearest exit point, which is through the doors on the right and out the main building. Officers will direct you to the assembly point on Blacks Road. The meeting will be taken as adjourned until it is safely resumes business, or can safely resume business. Toilets can be found through the door at the back of the room and to my right. Apologies for absence. Sorry, apologies.
Apologies for absence have been received from councillors Mercy Ume, Antonides, Rosenberg, Alexander, Carmel, Rockerbank Fowler, Collins, Quigley, Morton, Campbell Simon, and Boyland.
Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Item number 3. Are the minutes of the meeting agreed? Item number 4, Mayor's announcements. With great sadness, I have to inform the Council of the deaths of Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent, and former councillors Francis Stainton and Ian 22nd. Francis Stainton first became a councillor in 1990, and during her council career served as Chief Whip, Cabinet Member for Regeneration, and Cabinet Member for Parks, Culture and Heritage. She was elected Mayor in 2011 and again in 2013. She served Hammersmith and Fulham for 32 years as a councillor and was given the freedom of the borough in 2020. I'd like to invite Councillor Stephen Cowan, Jose Alfonso, Adrian Pascoe-Telbert, Dominic Stanton, Amanda Lloyd Harris, Aliyah Parzil Khan, and Liam Downer Sanderson to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I begin by recognising the tremendous contribution that Francis Stainton made to the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham. All of those, any of those, in fact, who's ever stood for election and then served the people who sent us here to do their bidding and to improve their borough, will know that it has its challenges. So for anybody in any political party to do it for such a long time, for over 3 decades, it deserves our considerable respect. The freedom of the borough is not easily given to citizens of this borough or people who have served this borough. It is given because of an outstanding, distinguished record. And that is exactly what Francis Stainton had. I was extremely pleased that I, as the leader of the council, was able to bestow this award on former councillor Stainton just a few years ago. And I remembered the first and the last time I saw her. The first time I ever came across Francis Stainton, I was a resident living near Chelsea Football Club, and someone had given them a licence for 24-hour nightclub. And it drove us mad as my partner was pregnant with our first child some 28 years ago, and to the point of distraction. And I phoned the council a number of times, as a resident would, to make complaints. And at the end, one of the licensing officers, the noise officers, said, "Do you know what you need to do is go to Francis Stainton. She's a superb ward councillor." And that, at the heart of it, is the essence of what makes this system of it's being a first-right representative of those people who want to raise concerns, no matter what they are. I came to know her as a member of a different political philosophy, although I suspect we agreed on many things, as she was a centrist conservative, unlike much of what's gone on in recent years. And she was always decent, always polite, and always professional. I was particularly impressed, as I mentioned at the AGM in 2022 that as mayor, she had contemplated leaping out of a helicopter in order to raise charity money. And she was looking to do that in what turned out to be the last 15 years of her life. It captures the spirit of former Councillor Stainton, and it explained a little bit what condolences to her loved ones, the respects of people in all of this borough for her service, and may she rest in peace.
Madam Mayor, tonight we celebrate the remarkable career of former Councillor Francis Stainton, whose 32 consecutive years serving the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham exemplify public service. Francis made rich contributions to our borough. Mayor for 2 terms in 2011 and 2012 and 2013 to 14. She led with grace and vision. Her tenure as cabinet member for regeneration and later for parks left an indelible mark on our community. She championed the magnificent regeneration of Fulham Palace and secured crucial lottery heritage funding that brought new life to Bishop's Park. But Francis's legacy extends far beyond bricks and mortar. Her charitable work has touched countless lives. As mayor, she raised over £100,000 for walking with the wounded, helped retrain injured service personnel, and giving them hope for meaningful employment. Close to home, she championed the Daisy Trust, Albert and Friends Instant Circus, and services for care leavers, ensuring our most vulnerable residents had champions in their corner. As mentioned by the leader, in 2022, Francis received the Freedom of the Borough, our highest honour, and never has it been more richly deserved. But Madam Mayor, Francis Stainton didn't just serve our borough. She enriched it immeasurably. She was a mentor to me, from getting me involved back in 2019 to cold winter evenings during the 2019 general election, and what a keen campaigner she was. She had to be told it was too cold, and that she shouldn't keep coming out at 7:30 in the evening as we approached the 12th of December, but she wanted to do her bit. Then coming to my selection in 2021 to cheer me on, if you guys want someone to blame for me being a councillor, Francis is pretty high up that list. But I will miss the phone calls with the sage advice and constant support. I will miss the razor-sharp instincts deployed at committee meetings, holding me to account. And most of all, I will miss her cheerful presence, lighting up rooms at events and bringing a smile to everyone she spoke to. It was an honour for Adrian and I to have the baton handed to us by such an experienced and well-regarded councillor. Francis, you are a local titan. You shall be missed, but never forgotten.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The last time I saw former Councillor Francis Stainton, was at the end of June on a beautiful sunlit evening on the Thames, raising funds in the time-honoured political fashion of slightly warm wine, canapes that always disappear just before they get to you, and a senior speaker from the centre urging everyone to keep the faith. Francis must have gone to hundreds of these. There's an element of duty there, of course, to her colleagues, past and present, to the party she had represented for so long, and to the well-being of the area which she saw as best expressed under a Conservative leadership. But I hope it was also about pleasure, in seeing friends and familiar faces, in reminiscing over battles waged decades ago, and in firing up fresh generations. In fact, sharing a glass of Chateau de fundraiser with her, it was so clear how much she enjoyed still being at the centre of things. Sharp, intensely political, ready to stuck in and speak her mind, because that flash of steel was not just in the hairdo. She embodied the concept that politicians can actually do things. I think it's fair to say she had little time for those who went into politics just to be somebody. For her, it was about doing. And in 32 years' service as a councillor, she did a huge amount for the borough, effecting lasting change, both as councillor and in the more senior positions she occupied, trustee of, volunteered for a bewilderingly large amount of charitable. Another life lesson from Francis: if you want something done, give it to somebody busy. Taking over as councillor in the ward Francis represented for so long could have been daunting. These were big shoes to fill, figuratively, if not literally. I was immensely grateful, as I know Jose was, for the advice she always offered generously and the behind-the-scenes work she put in to make sure that we were fully briefed, up to speed, and avoided falling into too many elephant traps. It is a spectacularly Francis thing to have been dutiful literally to the very end, attending meetings of her beloved Daisy Trust into her 10th decade, always thinking of the residents of Hammersmith and Fulham, and always ready to be a friend and mentor. They don't make them like that anymore. Francis, we will miss you enormously.
Madam Mayor, I would like to say just a few words about Francis Stainton. That is Stainton, not Stanton. Many's the time that the two of us were confused. Unfortunately, that will not happen again in the future, but Francis will, of course, stay in our memories. Her passing is a great loss to this council and to our borough. She gave decades of dedicated service to the people of Hammersmith and Fulham. Over the years, as you've already heard, she served as mayor, whip, and in many senior roles, always with a characteristic energy, intelligence, and good humour. As someone who now has the privilege of holding the role, I'm especially mindful of the standards that Francis set. Firm where needed, fair always, and deeply committed to the proper conduct of council business and to public service. She was also a tireless campaigner, as you've already heard, undeterred by the passing of the years, and remains engaged and as engaged and as enthusiastic as ever, out on the doorstep, at events and in conversation, always with that twinkle in her eye and an unwavering belief in the value of community. On a personal note, Frances was a constant source of advice and encouragement. She was wise, warm, and always wonderfully switched on. We've lost not only a distinguished councillor, but a dear friend and an example to us all. We will miss her very greatly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I first met Frances in 96, but was an association meeting. She was helpful and interested in new candidates, always prepared to offer, solicited or not, advice on how you could improve things. Her advice was usually sound, which I and many others took on board. She was hugely popular as ward councillor in Walham and then in Parsons Green in Walham. If you wanted any knowledge about Chelsea Football Club, then she was the person to see. I'm sure that Ken Bates wished that on occasions that she was actually on the board, as they had quite a long-standing relationship over the redevelopment of Stamford Bridge. She knew her subject in detail, which was a real asset to residents when trying to ensure that any development was not going to be totally detrimental. More recently, I used to catch up with her, I should say, at the Hurlingham Club, usually on a Sunday, where she'd be holding court with her prints and newspapers. Heaven help you if you are not well versed and prepared to discuss the issues of the day. Many local charities, such as the Daisy Trust and Fulham Palace, will sadly miss her enthusiasm and support. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, just and for the my name he is to dress endearingly as Lady Mayor. Sadly, neither of them are amongst us. Frances was very charming, and you could see the art. She was a welcome guest at our house, always listening to them talking endlessly about their school projects. I worked closely with her in setting up the World Peace and Prosperity Foundation, which celebrated individuals from from around the world who were amazing at their own skills and at their own field, but also contributed positively to society. We both shared a love of the arts, and I had the privilege of visiting her studio many times and seeing her paintings. She would also kindly praise my paintings, even though we both knew I was at best an amateur. My family and I will always remember her style. Rest in peace, Lady Mayor.
Thank you. Liam?
Madam Mayor, I would like to pass on my condolences to Frances and her family. She'll be sorely missed at our local ward committee meetings, where I got to know her over the last 4 years. She showed enormous passion into her extraordinary age. But actually, the statement I've got in front of me is from Councillor Victoria Brocklebank Fowler. She's got the flu, and she's asked me to read out her tribute on her behalf. So she says, well, many of us in this chamber will have vivid memories of Frances's strong, forthright, and positive contributions about our borough. For me, though, she was a friend as well as a colleague, and I'm very saddened by her death. We first met well over 25 years ago, when one early evening she canvassed me, a young mother with 2 small children and a 5-week-old baby in my arms. Hearing that I was going to vote Conservative, she smiled at my pre-bedtime excited children and promised them that soon they too would be able to come out campaigning. Children really enjoy leafleting, she said to me, and I couldn't help but smile as my children said eagerly that yes, that sounded fun. They didn't know, of course, what leafleting was, but this well-dressed, confident woman had immediately won them over. Ever practical, though, Frances has added, and rather surprised me, you must wait till that they can climb stairs. And I found myself saying that yes, I certainly would. Leap forward 4 years, and I felt that we were ready, and Frances welcomed us into the Fulham Conservative campaigning family. And of course, she was right. Never has so much fun been had by climbing stairs and posting leaflets through letterboxes. Best of all, though, was how kind everyone was, plus the previously rare treat of crisps in the pub later. Frances excelled in her role as whip and later chief whip. She regularly invited all of our families to buffet lunches in her garden and took immense care to encourage and engage the young. This was a wonderful trait in her character and one which we never see in the chamber. In the council, Frances was determined. She worked extremely hard and was a loyal friend to me and many others. She had, though, absolutely no hesitation in calling one out, and she did to all of us, at times, myself included. Her work as mayor was extraordinary, and she passionately raised a record amount of money for military charities and other good causes. She thoroughly enjoyed being mayor and always made sure she looked the part, sometimes with a pheasant feather adorned hat. She could be sharp in her comments to those who didn't exhibit the enthusiasm that she deemed appropriate. But she made things happen and was a stalwart to Stephen Lord Greenhow throughout our 2 terms of office. Frances had many friends amongst the residents in her ward. They admired her for her tenacity and determination to right wrongs, and many have been in touch with me to express condolences on her death. Frances did not have children, but she had a close, wider family and many dear friends. And I would like to offer my heartfelt condolences to them and to publicly thank her for her love, friendship, and civic contribution over so many years. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Moving on now to Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Kent, passed away on the 4th of September. She supported a range of charities, including Passage and Childline, and later set up a charity to help young people get access to learning instruments. I'd like to invite Councillor Stephen Cowan and Jose Fonzo to say a few words.
I guess for most people, when you look at a member of a royal family, you would see someone at the very top of society. And every single young child who grew up reading the fairy tales about what it would be to be a prince or a princess or a duchess was given a particular idea of what that might be. We have a particular type of royal family, a constitutional royal family, but still it would be easy for the central number of royals, the Queen and the Prince Regent, or the King and the Queen, to be the ones that do the duty and leave everybody else to go around being members of the royal family. We're therefore very privileged that we don't have a royal family like that. There are many, many people in the royal family who work very, very, very hard. And whenever I meet any member of the royal family, it is always impressive to see how much they care about the subject they come to view and how much duty they're having, even if they're in the later stages of their life. Now, I did not know the Duchess of York and did not have the privilege of meeting her. But for someone in that position to work so hard, so consistently for our country, it deserves the respect of all of us in this borough. It is very easy to go about your own life, but to care for others and to try and make things better is a noble thing. To do it as a noble is even more important, when she could have easily not had to have done that. So Her Royal Highness, the Duchess, she worked hard to set up Childline. She cared deeply about children, having been herself a primary school teacher. She worked hard to get people, young people, to love music and the playing of musical instruments, much as she had done as a child, and then as a teacher. And then she worked privately under an anonymous name as a teacher in schools in different parts of Britain. And that tells you about the character of Her Royal Highness. So I know I speak for everybody in recognizing that duty is one of the most important things that defines our great British society. And to have people at the top, like Her Royal Highness, leading with such example, is an inspiration to all of us. She is therefore deeply missed, and we send our deepest gratitude for her service to our country.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, we honour a woman who did public service in its truest form, the Duchess of Kent. Throughout her long life, she proved that dignity, compassion, and quiet determination leave marks as powerful as any crown. Born in 1933, the Duchess devoted herself to causes that transformed lives. Her commitment to education and arts ran deep. In 2004, she founded Future Talent, a charity supporting young musicians from low-income families, ensuring talent and opportunity were never divided by circumstance. In 1996, she made a decision that captured the nation's admiration, stepping away from full-time royal duties to teach music at a Hull primary school. To her pupils, she was not Your Royal Highness, but Miss Kent. That choice revealed everything about her character: humility, service, and a faith in education's transformative power. However, what is less known is that Duchess also secretly taught music at a primary school here in Hammersmith, undisclosed, however, away from the public attention. Her charitable work was also extensive. She served as president of the Royal Northern College of Music for 35 years and supported countless organizations, from UNICEF to the Samaritans. Catherine, Duchess of Kent, lived the life defined not by privilege, but by purpose. She reminded us that service to others, whether in the classroom, through charity, or in faith, is the truest measure of a life well lived. Her example will inspire generations to come.
Moving on to Ian Coleman. who passed away on the 20th of September. Ian Coleman was first elected as a councillor for Avonmore Ward in 1986, then for Gibbs Green Ward in 1990, then as MP for Hammersmith and Fulham from 1997 to 2005. He returned to local government as a councillor for Shepherd's Bush Green Ward from 2010 to 2014. During his time on the council, he served as Chief Whip, Deputy Leader, and Mayor. I'd like to invite Councillor Stephen Cowan, Jose Alfonso, Wesley Harcourt, and Adroni Alford, and Amanda Lloyd Harris to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Even this year, as we work in the London Borough of Hammersmith and meet hundreds and thousands of residents, I still come across people who tell me a story about how Ian Coleman helped them. Ian was a diligent councillor and council leader. He cared passionately about poverty and fighting it and ending it. He was enraged by the aspects of indifference that sometimes people living in poverty faced, and he spent his whole life fighting to improve the lives of others, particularly the poorest in our society. I must admit, I have not seen Ian for over a decade, but when I first met Ian, he was an inspiration to many of us, and I can see many people in the chamber who have come to pay their respects. He was, as many people have said, the most compelling parliamentary constituency MP that you're likely to get. The sheer level of casework he did meant that he was very well known. And when people were out, they would come up and shake his hand and thank him for the difference that he had made in their lives. Politics is a cruel game in many ways, and I did not always see eye to eye with him, but there has never been a moment where I did not respect his service to the people of this borough, his belief in a different type of ideal world, and his determination to fight for people who were less fortunate than many. Rest in peace, Ian Coleman.
Madam Mayor, this evening we remember former Mayor, former leader and former MP Ian Coleman, who served this borough and our nation in public life for over 3 decades. For 8 years, he represented Hammersmith and Fulham at Westminster. Ill health forced him to step down in 2005 after suffering strokes, yet he returned to the council in 2010, serving Shepherd's Bush Green. That spoke volumes of his sense of duty. Ian Coleman believed deeply in his cause. He worked hard for it. On behalf of my party, I extend our condolences to his family and friends. His contribution to our borough will be remembered.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know I've said this at a number of recent council meetings, but the passing of former councillors is becoming more and more frequent, as many of the old guard are now in their later years of their lives, myself included. It's nonetheless very sad to hear about each individual passing, but I was especially saddened and upset to hear about Ian Coleman, who died on the 20th of September at only 67 years of age. It was also sad to hear of the passing of former councillor Francis Stainton, who served this council for many years. When I first met Ian, he was a councillor for Gibbs Green Ward. Ian became leader, as we've heard, of the council in 1991, and also served as mayor of Hammersmith and Fulham from 96 to 97. In the 1997 general election, Ian Coleman was elected as Member of Parliament for the then marginal seat of Hammersmith and Fulham, but after a series of strokes, he stood down at the election in 2005. Ian made a comeback in 2010 as his health improved when he was elected as councillor for Shepherd's Bush Green Ward, which he represented until 2014. Ian was an extremely able socialist politician who devoted his life to the labour movement and to supporting the disadvantaged in our society. Ian was a superb political strategist, or what some less forgiving people may call an arch political manoeuvrer. Ian was, as we've heard, an extremely hard-working local politician, well known for his support and work for the local residents he represented. He was equally well known for championing the causes of Palestine and Northern Ireland. But it wasn't all about work with Ian. I recall many late nights at Tony's restaurant in King Street with Labour group members after meetings and often with other well-known members of the Labour Party. Ironically, perhaps, he was not so well known for his lack of driving skills in an ageing Blue Morris Traveller. You must be brave to get into that car with Ian driving, as I was warned by a senior party member whose name I dare not reveal. I don't think I dare make any further comments on that. We had one major area of disagreement. Ian was a fanatical Arsenal fan, while I support Tottenham Hotspur. It was strongly rumoured that council meetings had to be fixed to avoid Arsenal matches, and even the Evening Standard once reported the same, while Ian was serving as an MP. Ian was never slow to make the point whenever Arsenal beat Spurs, but was somewhat perhaps slower to begrudgingly hand over the £10 we once bet on the North London derby when Spurs won. And it didn't stop there. Even his final days, when I met him in Askew Road, he would always manage to make some abusive jibe about Spurs before returning to the more serious matters affecting the council and local people, something he never ever forgot. I can recall how sad it was bumping into Ian being pushed in his wheelchair in Askew Road, how each time I saw him, he had deteriorated further. He was somebody unable to speak clearly, but whose brain was obviously still as live and sharp and active as ever. He never lost that interest and desire to serve the council and local people. I shall be forever grateful to Ian, and this is why I said I found his death to be particularly sad. Ian gave up many evenings coaching and mentoring me, trying to persuade me to stand for selection. When I eventually stood for selection as a candidate in College Park and Old Oak Ward in 1994, I recall practicing and adjusting my speech with Ian until I got it right. Selection meetings were highly contested in those days. So if it had not been for Ian, I might never have stood for the council or been elected, and you would never have had to put up with me. My condolences go to his wife, Sally Powell, and son, Jack. May he rest in peace.
I first met Ian Coleman when I was elected to the council in 1990, and he was the deputy leader. He subsequently became the leader. I well remember many invigorating council meetings, which were very lively and very informative, and I learned a great deal, even if I was on an opposing party. He was fiercely loyal and determined to see his political ideas in force. He loved and respected his residents. They meant the world to him, and he served them very loyally. Before he stood for Parliament, he was mayor of this borough, and I know that he gave great store by that illustrious role and did everything to promote Hammersmith Fulham during that time. It's a privilege, as I've been mayor, and I know that he regarded it as a privilege too. Subsequently, as everybody said, he was elected to Parliament in the Tony Blair landslide. I well remember that. And sadly, he was a loyal and hardworking MP until his health deteriorated. And after his retirement, he remained interested and influential in local politics. And by his death, the borough has lost a loyal friend. I send my deepest condolences to his wife and family.
Thank you. I've known Ian and his wife, Sally Powell, since the late 1990s. They were what you would have called a serious power couple of the Labour Party, whether that was in Hammersmith and Fulham or on the national stage. If you wanted things done, then you knew where to go. I hear from Sally on a regular basis, and it was she who contacted me to say that Ian had died. Ian was a popular and well-respected councillor, and he carried this respect on in his role as MP for Hammersmith and Fulham from 1997 to 2005. I wasn't a councillor when Ian was leader, but I was fully aware of him when my residents had need of his services, and I had no compunction in sending them to him as he was able to help, and generally did. Ian was what one would call old-fashioned in his politics, in that he'd be willing to cut deals with the Conservative opposition if it was in the best interests of the borough. I'm aware of a couple, which I obviously will not regale you with since Councillor Gerald Wilmore died last year, and those stories are not mine to tell. I was one of 3 Conservatives invited to Ian's 60th birthday party, the others being Gerald and my former colleague, Councillor Alizazi. Some of you here tonight were there enjoying the fabulous music and catching up with Ian and Sally. You could see that his health was deteriorating and he was struggling to communicate. Sally asked me on occasions if I could help with his care and accommodation, which I happily did, but it was a hard time for all of them. The amount of care needed would tax the most loving of people. So to Sally and Jack, I'm sorry for your loss, but I feel that Ian is in a better place. Thank you.
I would like us to stand for a minute of silence in their memory. Ooh. Thank you. We're now moving on to item number 5, public questions. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone who took the time to submit questions to tonight's meeting. Public question time is limited to 20 minutes. If a question does not receive a reply in the meeting, a written response will be sent and published in the next meeting's minutes. For ease of reference, I have provided a copy of your question for you. The questioner called will have an opportunity to ask a brief follow-up question. Question number 1, I invite Peter Golden to ask a question to Councillor Harcourt, Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Ecology. Please, can you read your question?
Madam Mayor, councillors, thank you. And thank you for the 2030 Climate and Ecology Strategy, which recognises the largest source of carbon emissions of things the average person uses relate to food. In particular, the high climate impact of meat and dairy. A 2023 detailed analysis of UK diets found that plant-based diets result in 75% less greenhouse gas emissions, water pollution, and land use than diets in which more than 100 grams of meat a day was eaten. Plant-based diets cut wildlife destruction by 66% and water use by 54%. And less than a third of adults manage to eat NHS recommended 5 portions of fruit and vegetables per day. So, by helping the community access plant-based food through council events, school menu changes, and public education, it will help lower Hammersmith and Fulham's carbon footprint and also have positive impacts on the health of our community. Therefore, will you join 46 councils worldwide? Apologies, Madam Mayor. That's 51 councils now, including Lambeth, Edinburgh, Belfast, Norwich, Exmouth, and Haywards Heath in the UK, and endorse the Plant-Based Treaty Initiative and take more meaningful steps to expand access to healthy plant-based foods. Thank you for what you're doing already. It's much appreciated, but we can raise the profile of what you're doing by having a new motion on this. Thank you.
I invite the Cabinet Member to provide a response.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gordon, and thanks, Golden rather, and thank you very much for the emails and all the additional information that you've sent me. We've met on many an occasion, as you recall, at various events. You're one of our regulars at all these events, and it's always good to talk to you. But tonight, the questions about food, and food is a significant contributor to our borough's consumption-based emissions, and our climate and ecology strategy recognises this, as you indeed said. Alongside that, we've launched the Hammersmith and Fulham Food Plan for 25 to 30, which puts sustainability at the heart of a whole systems approach to food. The plan aims for a borough where everyone can eat well, sustainably and with dignity, and was co-produced with our Food for All partnership, including the Food Bank, Nourish Hub and other local organisations. We're focusing on practical measures within our local powers. For example, we've completed the rollout of wheeled recycling bins and food waste caddies to over 50,000 households, helping residents recycle more and keep streets cleaner. At the same time, those food caddies show to residents the amount of food they're actually wasting and reduces consumption at the same time. So very, very helpful there. We support community growing and food skills throughout partners such as the Hammersmith Community Gardens Association, the work they do in the Ravenscourt Park greenhouses and other people is something to be praised. And we work with Nourish Hub and the Hammersmith and Fulham Food Bank to improve access to nutritious food and reduce waste. In my own ward, there's the Bubble and Squeak thing where fresh food is distributed as well. We also back London's Eat Like a Londoner campaign, which helps residents save money, cut waste and eat well. And we engage local employers and community groups through the Hammersmith and Fulham Climate Alliance. To amplify our impact, we participate in London Council's One World Living programme, which is developing policies on sustainable food purchasing and delivering London-wide campaigns to promote healthier, lower impact diets. Thank you.
Mr. Golden, do you have a brief follow-up question?
Yes, please, briefly. Thank you very much, Councillor Harcourt. I really appreciate all the work you're doing. I'm ashamed it's got such a low profile. The public aren't aware of it. So can I ask you to have a new motion with something very simple that we can all get behind on all sides of the House? For example, very simply offering veg vouchers for vulnerable households, like they're already doing in Lambeth. Very, very popular and helpful, supporting the plant-based initiative.
Yes, thank you very much for that suggestion. This is not something that we've closed the door on by any means. It's something we are continuing to look into and continue to look into this. I would very much appreciate you continuing to contact me on a regular basis about this. At our various PAC meetings, there have been one or two speakers as well about this, and who I've responded to on a similar sort of basis. It's perhaps for that I feel at the moment we're perhaps not quite ready to go to that point of what you're saying, but it is something we will look at, we'll continue to look at, and I'm sure you'll continue to remind me about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, moving on to question number 2. I invite Brian Mooney to ask a question to Councillor Harvey, Cabinet Member for Social Inclusion and Community Safety. Please, can you read your question?
Good evening, Mayor Holder. fellow residents and especially Councillor Harvey, Hammersmith and Fulham is spending millions on AI CCTV and facial recognition cameras officially to address crime. It has already tracked residents and visitor journeys using smart lens in the Blackenbury study. What guarantee is there that these systems will not be used for charging drivers in the potential road pricing initiative buried deep in the air quality action plan?
Can I invite the Cabinet Member to respond?
Hello, Mr. Mooney. Thank you for your question. So in response, the Cabinet report regarding the CCTV and the use of AI technology, it's clear that the cameras are only being used for crime fighting and tackling antisocial behaviour and working alongside our partners and the police. And as you said, we have invested millions to do that and a further 3.2 million as well. There's no intention whatsoever for these cameras to be used for road charging. They're not made or designed in that way, and they don't have the same similar systems that a road charging camera would have. So they won't be doing that. So yes, so they are really, just to reiterate, they are to fight crime in our borough. We take that very seriously, and that is our intention.
Mr. Mooney, do you have a follow-up question?
I'll thank Councillor Harvey for her answer, but I'll skip the follow-up question to make more time for other residents.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Okay, moving on now to question number three. Yes. Oh, sorry, my apologies. That's the reason why I can't see it. I've been informed the questioner cannot attend, so a written response will be provided to question number 3. Moving on to now question 4, I invite Alessio Tomasino to ask a question to Councillor Verdier, Cabinet Member for Public Realm. Please, can you read your question?
Good evening. Our freedom of information request shows that there are no licenses for A-boards or stores on Asbridge Road, yet the road is full of them. At the Cabinet meeting, the Council promised to look at the cluttering the private forecourts and public highway, but we have seen no progress. So when is this happening?
Thank you. I invite the Cabinet Member to respond.
Well, thank you. So just to be perfectly clear, our priority is to ensure that everyone can use the Oxford Road. I'm very passionate about that, as you know. There's no place for A-boards blocking people's mobilities, whether it's with wheelchairs, pushchairs, or any citizens with reduced mobilities or special mobility needs. Just in your question, you've said we promised to clear them from private forecourts. I think that's where actually I have a probably very good response, but you'll get in writing. I think the distinction here that has to be made is A-boards that sit on private forecourts. It's private land that we don't own. So the enforcement there is much more difficult than where the A-boards sit on the private land, which belongs to us, the council. There is enforcement possible if the A-boards impede free movement. So basically, if you have a small stretch of land, even if it was private and someone plops their A-board, we would be able to remove it and just say you have to give way. We haven't received a complaint about specific A-board impeding mobility. So you'll know that Active Travel England has guidance that it should be 2 meters. So 1.8 meters for 2 adults crossing each other, 2 meters for a wheelchair user. And we have surveyed all of them. And so far we haven't got a stretch of land where an A-board, and I'm specific about the A-boards, is preventing people from doing that.
So you confirm that you looked at the A-boards on the Asbridge Road on the public highway and that they are legal, they pay the license that they have to pay, and that they are not obstructing. Is that what you confirm? That you looked at the A-boards on the public highway on the Asbridge Road, physically you went there, and you confirmed that they had the correct license?
So to answer your question, so all of us live in the borough by law, so like any residents, and obviously like someone involved in sort of problems that people are raising there, I cycle through it regularly. I understand the frustration, a lot of things. So what we've done is a complete survey. There are 74. The figures came yesterday. We haven't and that impedes free movement. So your point about licenses existing. So you have to understand that businesses in this country suffered for 14 years. They're in the current state. If we impose on them extra charges or extra things where that's not needed, there isn't that mobility. That's what I really, really care about. It's a third tax. No, you will disagree with this. If you may not agree with what it is today, but when it becomes dead, there's no coming back from it. And, you know, it needs really, really our help and support. So if your question is, am I going to be slapping extra charges on all of those businesses where really there isn't an impediment of mobility, where people can walk about freely, etc., I think we need to be constructive with businesses. We have a license system that I think eventually pay, but we're not going to enforce at the moment strongly. The aim is not to put them out of business. The aim is to ensure that they can use their boards in order to draw their customers, advertise their goods, and increase their footfall.
So you say they should.
Brief secondary question. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Moving on now to question number 5. I invite Victoria Eccles to ask a question to Councillor Stephen Cowan, Leader of the Council. Please, can you read your question?
Thank you. Mayor and councillors, since the petition to fix road engagement with residents to discuss how the council will address the issues. The petition group has had no further contact from the Cabinet since the meeting on the 15th of September, when commitments were made to work together despite emails having been sent. How and when does the council intend to work with petitioners on an overall? Who will lead this and how will we be kept informed of progress?
Thank you. Can I invite the leader to provide a response, please?
Thank you very much. And I reiterate that we are genuinely grateful that residents have raised their concerns. We recognise that, as the lead petitioner, Ms. Noor Al-Neem said at the Cabinet meeting, she raised a series of legal questions and asserted that we have a series of legal powers. And if you recall, it was a 2.5-hour meeting, so we went through an awful lot of information. If you look at the transcript of that, there was many, many issues raised. So following that meeting, we organised for a complete review of all Ms. Noor Al-Neem's points, particularly the legal points. And the reason that was important is she very much explained that there had not been legal advice, but did assert a number of laws that we weren't using. And if you were there, it was very clear cut that she thought we had those laws. Now, you will remember we had previously taken advice on this and told we simply do not have those powers. But anyone who's ever dealt with a lawyer or any lawyers will know that you can get slightly conflicting legal advice at times. And what you want to do is to look at stuff in the round. So although it was over a month ago, I've had the officials look at every single one of those legal questions, because in my job, you quite often get advice. And if someone tells you it's wrong, as Miss Noor Al-Neem did, then I will go and check it out. That's what we've been doing. We've done that extensively. And I understand a letter is in draft to go back and answer those very specific points. But as we agreed, we would work in good faith with each other. And I can appreciate you might wonder what's happened. Well, since that point, we've also looked at all the different issues that were raised. Some of those were already in play. So parts of Uxbridge Road will be raised. Parts of it, we're looking to see if we can extend it. But you heard one of the officers at that Cabinet meeting saying some of those costs could be up to £30 million. So it is not easy to quickly come back with such sums of public money, or indeed with such solutions. But we are a solution-orientated administration, and that's what we've been working on. So I've seen a draft letter from earlier this week, and I've looked at that, and you will be getting several things happen. Number one, you will get a full and clear response of all the concerns that were raised. And I hope I really do. I was grateful so many people came, and I do hope you felt listened to. You were very much actively listened to, and we are looking into those concerns. The second thing we will do is appoint a lead councillor. So whilst you have many, and you're fortunate to have many very effective ward councillors in that area who raise these concerns all the time, we're going to appoint one coordinating councillor to cut across all the different apartments. Now, we have done that, but I'll put that in the letter rather than say that here, if you forgive me. And those two things will happen. Following that, we will look to work with you and other residents in the area to see what else we can do to further improve it. I would just say this. I appreciate that, you know, the lead petitioner said she'd lived there for 3 years, and, you know, I was really sorry to hear she said it was the worst place she'd ever lived. There has been hundreds of millions of pounds of investment into Uxbridge Road in the last 10 years, hundreds of millions of pounds. Now, you might say, where did we get that money from? Because we're a cash-strapped austerity council. Well, we put some money into Bush Theatre, into public realm improvements, into raising, into crime-fighting measures, law enforcement teams, gangs units, etc. But our job is also to win private sector investment. And anyone who knows about private sector investment means you have to win the confidence of the private sector for them to take the risk and put a business, whether it's a new pub that is in the Evening Standard and recommended as a place to go, or whether it's a new hotel that's being built at vast amounts of money, or whether it's a complete refurb of Shepherd's Bush Market. Now, there's over £100 million worth of investment have come in here, and we know the best way to improve Uxbridge Road is to keep winning that private investment. And that will be part of what we set out in response. And we hope we can continue to work with you in good faith to actually not just have council actions, but to work to deal with some of the other things which aren't the council's control, like BT and the police, but also within the wider section of the market of attracting new investment that enlivens what is a great road, but could be much better. You have a follow-up question if you like.
No, thank you. That was good to hear and very helpful. Thank you. Just a very quick question. When can we expect to receive the letter then, please?
I got it yesterday, and I read it last night when I got in from the meetings, and I'm hoping to get it to you at least by the beginning of next week, once I've read it and made my comments. So if you can bear with me, but I promise you we are on it. It's just 2.5 hours did raise an awful lot of issues, many of them legal, and they do need following up on.
Thank you.
I am very sorry to say, but the speaker or questioner for question number 6, we will now not have enough time, but we will ensure that your question is responded to in writing. Okay. Please. Thank you. That's public questions. Moving now, item number 6, which is the committee report. Item number 1, Justice Plan for 2025-26. I call upon Councillor Sanderson to move the report and recommendations.
Moved.
I have been informed Councillor Sanderson, Alves Khan and Harvey would like to speak. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. The first priority of a stronger, safer, kinder borough is to keep its residents safe. And nowhere is this more important than when it comes to our young people. We know that the world is more complex than ever and that the very nature of crime has changed immeasurably from how it looked even 10 years ago. I am proud that this report outlines the work of our youth justice approach, rated as outstanding at inspection by HMIP, rising to meet those challenges uniquely faced by our young people, especially those most vulnerable young people whose life is impacted by crime and criminal behaviour. Through extensive co-production with young people and with partners, this is a plan which seeks to understand the levers and pathways young people fall prey to as they come into interaction with those who would seek to exploit and harm them, and harnesses a holistic, human-first, wraparound approach to try to divert those most precious of young people back to a place of stability and safety, recognising that they are, after all, children. Of course, when anyone commits any form of crime, there must be a reckoning. But to simply write off a young person and their future without seeking to understand them, without trying to teach them a better way of being, without encouraging and nurturing that young person to show them that a better life is possible, well, that is a failing that should shame us all. I want to thank the whole of the Youth Justice team for the tireless, difficult work they do to try and keep our young people and residents right across Hammersmith and Fulham as safe and as cared for as possible, and I commend this plan to the council.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other speakers at the moment. If you want to. Yes. Okay. I've been asked if we could pause the council meeting, which I'm more than happy to do so. So the meeting will be closed for 5 minutes. Lovely, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now resuming the meeting. Councillor Afzal Khan, would you like to speak, please? Don't apologise, please not.
All our council officers and the many partners who contributed to the Youth Justice Plan 2025-26. It's a serious and compassionate document, one that shows a shared determination to give every young person and Fulham a better chance in life. The plan's strength lies in its child-first approach. It sees children not as offenders to be punished, but as young lives that can still be reached. I particularly welcome the emphasis on education, training, and employment, the best antidotes to crime and exclusion, and the commitment to tackling racial disproportionality in our system. The plan also builds on important conservative government initiatives such as turnaround and supporting families, national programs that fund early intervention, reduce first-time entrants, and give councils the tools to work with families before problems escalate. These conservative programs are now embedded in our local plan and show the power of partnership between central and local government when the focus is on prevention, not punishment. But Madam Mayor, there is more to do. Funding remains fragile as it's still too reliant on short-term grants. Access to mental health support, especially through CAMS, is stretched thin. So I urge the administration to look beyond the next year to secure long-term investment, to expand supported housing, and to strengthen family engagement as part of breaking cycles of reoffending. The plan shows that progress is possible, that when all partners and stakeholders work together across politics, schools, the police, and the community, we can change the trajectory of young lives. Let us take this opportunity to build on what's been achieved and make Hammersmith and Fulham a borough where every child is given the chance to choose a better life and a better future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Madam Mayor, the Youth Justice Plan sets out the vital work that Hammersmith and Fulham's Youth Justice Service and partners do to keep children, young people safe, to support them to reach their full potential, and to ensure that young people and children can avoid and escape the cycles of criminal activity. The child-first approach is essential to the youth justice court system, providing time for vital programmes of support and the right interventions to be put in place, and they're crucial for its success in helping young people avoid crime and move away from it. The programmes of support that are vital also include things that we've done across community safety as well as the Youth Justice Partnership, working partnership. For example, in terms of stop and search, working with our heads of service of the Youth Justice Service, police and community safety, we worked very closely to see how we could look at the disproportionality of stop and search against young Black people and children. And through undertaking pilots and very careful planning and work, we're able to ensure that the police could target specific groups using an intelligence-led approach to stop and search, so that young people didn't feel disengaged from society and go on to commit crime, and ensure that those people that were doing things got the help they needed and early intervention. Through the approach that's being used, identifying hotspots and problem-orientated policing, we've been able to see a reduction in the disproportionality of children from Black communities being stopped and searched, whilst also seeing an increase in the police positive outcomes when they do stop and search, because it is more targeted. In addition to that, we've also seen our gangs unit working with girls and young women to support them, to help them to build up the confidence to move away from criminal justice system. We've seen some wonderful programs of support put in place, such as our Grow and Glow, where we worked very closely with young women and girls who shared their experiences about the help that they needed, said the areas of things that interested them. And from that, we were able to help them to build their life skills and confidence. So for example, they had a real interest, some of our young girls and women had a real interest in the beauty industry. And by helping them to participate in a course of training around beauty, nail extensions, eyelash extensions, accredited training programs, they were able to build their confidence and then go on to use those skills to help them to get jobs. So really taking them away from a life of crime and actually helping them to empower them to have a better opportunity in life. Also, our Gangs, Violence and Exploitation Unit have worked very closely with the Lyric to help young children and young people recognise the signs of exploitation to help them to avoid being involved in it. They recently won an award through the UK Awards, Theatre Awards for Excellence in Arts Education. This piece of work that was carried out was a production of a play called Across the Line. And basically that was produced with the Lyric and the Gangs Unit, and it was shown to over 1,000 children from 28 schools across the borough. Those young children were able to see what the signs were and recognise what exploitation could be, so that it educated them to know what to look out for. Through the work of the Youth Justice Service, and we've seen and worked with partners such as Turnaround, and it clearly states in the report where 68 children over 3 years were supported, 94% of those children and young people did not go on to reoffend. So it's really wonderful to see that such commitment and dedication of our partners and of the council, and the investment we put into this area of work really pays off dividends. Through the work of the youth justice system, it really provides fresh opportunities as we build on the work and the impact, and focus on the prevention and diversion tactics that we are using to build on the outstanding work. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Thank you. Is the report and its recommendations agreed? The recommendations are carried. Moving on to item number 6.2, Disability Confident Leader. I call on Councillor Reid to introduce and speak on the report.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. In order to provide the best services to residents, the council first needs to hire the best people. And once we've hired the best people, we then need to allow them to work to the best of their abilities. That's why I am proud that Hammersmith and Fulham Council has been awarded Disability Confident Leader status, the highest level of accreditation from the government. Now, as the report says, becoming a disability confident leader is not just a badge of honour, it's a testament to the values that we live by. It demonstrates that we are not only meeting, but exceeding best practice in recruiting, retaining and developing disabled people. And if I can quote from our external validator directly, you have clearly been on an amazing journey to support not only colleagues and candidates, but the borough service users. You are partnering intelligently and using the co-production models to hugely good effect. You should be very proud of what has been a serious commitment. Now, I want to thank everybody at the council who has helped us achieve this great accomplishment. In particular, Nicola Ellis, Mary Lamont, and everyone in the People and Talent team, as well as our partners in the voluntary and community sector. This award recognises how we are helping disabled people into the world of work through placements in our work experience programmes, through our supported internships, and through our Earn While You Learn programme, part of the H&F Academy and Upstream London. It recognises our inclusive recruitment when we hire new staff. It recognises the workplace adjustments that we make to help people carry out their roles. It recognises the training and development and technological support that we provide people in order to do their jobs. And it recognises our commitment to co-production, a commitment that gave us the Hammersmith and Fulham Disabled People's Commission and award-winning projects like our new civic campus. This is a recognition of how we have put our values into action and the greater benefits that this has brought to our staff, to our residents, and to the borough as a whole. When Reform and other smaller political parties of the right try to claim that DEI, an awful American term that they use because Donald Trump does, is a waste of money, what they're actually talking about is cancelling valuable schemes like the ones that I've just mentioned. They want to hire from a narrower pool of people. They want to reduce the skill base of the council. They want to make it harder for some workers to do their jobs. They want less involvement from the people who are affected by council policy in how they're developed. And that's not efficiency. That's the very definition of waste, both in terms of human potential and in terms of spending public money. It's certainly not the Hammersmith and Fulham way, and it won't be as long as we have a Labour administration. Our watchwords have always been that we are an administration that does things with people rather than to them, and this report shows the benefits that that approach has had. As it concludes, we are committed to being a bold, inclusive employer and a leader in disability equity, not just in words, but in action. Together with our staff, our partners, and community, we will continue to build a borough where everyone can belong, contribute, and thrive. This is just one of the many steps we are taking to make a stronger, safer, kinder borough here in Hammersmith and Fulham, and I commend this report to the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've been informed that Councillor Lloyd Harris, Perez and Vaughan would like to speak.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, it's a pleasure actually to stand up here tonight as we celebrate our recognition as a disability confident leader. This is not just a title, it is a testament to the hard work, dedication and vision of everyone involved, especially those in our community who live with disabilities. Earning disability confident leader status is no small feat. It reflects a collective commitment to creating a workplace where everyone is valued for who they are and what they can bring to the table. Our journey began with a pledge to do more, to listen more closely, and to create an environment that is open, accessible, and empowering for all. It is achieved by organisations being self-assessed and their services then being validated by an external assessor. It reports on disability, mental health, well-being, and challenges thinking and practices. It is supporting and empowering people to reach their full potential. We should all take pride in this achievement. The council, the organisations who are open-minded and could see that the positives in this were for a more open and inclusive approach to employment. For those in our community who have benefited from the achievement, you are the trailblazers and you are the role models for others to follow. This approach to employment for all has been some time in coming. Working collaboratively with our residents and service users has opened new employment opportunities. Our commitment is not just to open doors, but to support people as they walk through them, ensuring that every individual has the tools, support, and encouragement that they need to flourish. Let us remember that being a disability confident leader is an ongoing responsibility. It is about continuing to listen, to improve, and to champion inclusion at every level. Our success is built on the stories and achievements of people with disabilities. Your voices matter, your experiences matter, and your ambitions matter. In conclusion, I would like to actually mention that when I was interviewed last year by the Care Quality Commission, I was asked what I thought was one of the council's achievements. I didn't need to think. I knew that it was the work that had been undertaken for those with disability. You only need to see the work that's been done by Action on Disability to understand. It's a service that has worked and continues to work with many in our community. We should all be proud of this achievement. Together, we are making Hammersmith and Fulham not only an inclusive workplace, but a stronger and more compassionate community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Perez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very proud to speak in support of this item, recognizing that Hammersmith and Fulham has officially been accredited as a disability confident leader. the highest level of recognition in the national scheme. We are now one of only 5 boroughs in London to achieve this. And it's a testament to years of meaningful work, deep collaboration, and shared ambition between the council, colleagues, our residents, and our partners. Above all, this recognition speaks volumes about the values and character of our borough. It shows that we are not just talking about inclusion, we are living it. We're embedding inclusive practices in different areas, for example, recruitment and employment lifecycle, with inclusive recruitment, workplace adjustments, learning and internal progression, well-being, and support, amongst other initiatives. Offering training designed to ensure that understanding, empathy, and awareness are embedded throughout our organization, helping staff at all levels to foster a more inclusive culture. We're also piloting the Wellbeing Passport, which ensures disabled and neurodivergent colleagues receive consistent, tailored support. As a council, we're committed to fostering an accessible and supportive environment for our colleagues, for our partners, and for our wider community of residents. And I also want to allude to the external validator and their words. You are partnering intelligently and using the co-production models to hugely good effect. You should be very proud of what has been a serious commitment. That intelligent partnership they refer to is exemplified by our work with co-production methods H&F, a group made up of disabled residents, council officers, community organizations, and councillors. The group's mission is to embed co-production across all areas of the council, ensuring that residents are part of designing and shaping the services they use, and to challenge the barriers disabled people face by using the social model of disability as its foundation. Members represent a range of groups, including the Civic Campus Disabled Residents Team, the Digital Accessibility Group, Inclusive Design Review Panel, the Inclusive Environment Team, the Direct Payment Steering Group, and the Disabled People's Housing Strategy Implementation Group. And they are supported by vital local partners like Action on Disability, SOBOS. Together, they bring a huge amount of lived experience and practical insight into how to create a borough that works for everyone. So when we talk about becoming a disability confident leader, it's not just about internal policy, it's about removing barriers and creating real, meaningful change that reaches into every part of our community. Of course, this is not the end of the journey. There is more that we're planning to do. I was very interested to hear about these plans moving forward, as discussed at the recent Policy and Oversight Board. Plans in areas such as digital accessibility, increasing employment opportunities for young disabled residents, and developing services that are flexible, equitable, and inclusive. This accreditation is a powerful signal that we are on the right path, and that by working in partnership with staff, with residents, and other partners, we're building a borough that is inclusive, ambitious, and accessible for everyone. I invite you all to commend this great accreditation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vaughan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to be able to speak on this report tonight, and I certainly commend the previous speakers for all that they've said. I think that reflects the, well, maybe in this case, unity across this chamber about the work that's been done to build inclusivity for disabled people. I think this report's also a testament to basically the multi-year commitment that the LBHF has made to engaging disabled people. Making, as has been already said, the social model of disability part of the culture. So as Councillor Perez was saying, very much that is lived and work and part of the fabric of what goes on in Hammersmith and Fulham, rather than being something that's thrust upon it. So as we've already heard tonight, there are myriad ways of getting to be a disability confident leader. Obviously promoting inclusive recruitment, workplace adjustments, things like manager training, which is again helping to embed the culture, in particular around co-production within the council. And it's really key to ensuring that staff, the people who are delivering services, working with disabled people, are aware of the expectations and properly trained in how to deliver
that inclusion that we've been driving for. Clearly, there have also been learning and support initiatives, and there's a very long list, if you look at the report, of all that's been done in this area. But further to this, and as some have already mentioned, than just the workplace offering, our disabled residents are, I hope we're getting there, at the heart of policy making with the drive for co-production. Nothing about disabled people without disabled people. And as has already been mentioned again, a part of that drive, the major thrust perhaps of that drive, started with the Disabled People's Commission, whose members you will remember in May last year we honoured with Freedom of the Borough for the work that they'd done. And clearly we're now seeing that being driven forward. I'm glad we've had one of the great members of that commission here with us tonight. I've been very proud to be able to, and I'm very privileged to be able to work with a number of them over the course of many years now. They drove the Disabled People's Commission very hard, and they gave us the platform to build towards this achievement tonight. As mentioned, there are excellent examples of co-production in action: the Civic Campus, housing strategy, digital accessibility, inclusive design. And there's also, in more detail, pleased to see at the pack that I chair this year, co-production in action, when we received a report from the Inclusive Environment Disabled Residents team, slightly difficult team to remember, but it exists, a team of officers and disabled residents that meet monthly and up to about 10 times per year. And the key thing that was noted by residents at that meeting was that the forum's giving them the opportunity to highlight the barriers to the officers that are standing in the way of them living full and independent lives. Now, the successes and the work at that point, including doing access audit of King Street and monitoring that, ensuring that disabled parking bays were working well, site visits to understand the barriers, particularly to do with staggered crossings and problems with bus passes on King Street and Wood Lane, the development of street smart guidance, and the implementation, as I say again, of disabled shoppers' bays, and highlighting, and again, of course this is a wider issue, issues regarding e-bikes, and in particular the way that they are wrongly parked on some of our streets. This detailed input really is helping to improve the way the council makes its policies, and I'd like to thank residents and officers for their commitment. It's demonstrated, the council has demonstrated its commitment to disabled people more broadly with free home care. But this is something to be marked and celebrated tonight, and it is not an ending. As the report notes, it's a proud moment marking the culture that has been built, and in no way the end of that journey. And the report sums up the position well. It says the focus remains on momentum, sharing what works and amplifying the voices of disabled people in everything we do. We are committed to being a bold, inclusive employer and a leader in disability equality, not just in words, but in action. Together with our staff, partners and community, we will continue to build a borough where everyone can belong, contribute and thrive. So I'd like to thank all those residents and officers who've got us this far. There's further to go, but we celebrate your achievements tonight. And like others, I very much commend this excellent report to the Chamber.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers? Thank you. Is the report noted? Thank you very much. Moving now on to item 6.3, transformation of playgrounds and other play facilities. I call on Councillor Chevalier to introduce and speak on the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Dear colleagues and members of the public, I rise today with immense pride to speak about something that lies at the very heart of our communities. Our parks, our playgrounds, and the spaces where our children play, grow, and thrive. Communities built. From ancient agoras to village greens, these places have always been more than just land. They are where friendships are forged, where stories are shared, and where the next generation learns the value of cooperation, resilience, and joy. In Hammersmith and Fulham, we are proud to carry that tradition forward. Our Parks Improvement Programme is investing £1.1 million over the next 2 years to create cleaner, greener, safer and more accessible parks for everyone. This includes new lighting, improved footpaths, upgraded signage and enhanced biodiversity through beautiful planting schemes. We are not just maintaining our parks, we are transforming them into places of pride, inclusion and sustainability. But we are going further. Through our Playgrounds Improvement Programme, we are delivering an £8.3 million investment, the largest in our borough's history, across 95 playgrounds, including those in our parks and housing estates. This is about more than swings and slides. It's about equity. It's about ensuring that every child, regardless of postcode or background, has access to safe, inspiring and inclusive places to play. We are refreshing equipment, building state-of-the-art water play areas, like the one coming to Ravenscourt Park, and co-designing these spaces with our residents through our new Play Forum and our Many Friends group. We believe in doing things with the community, not to them. I was with the Friends of Margravine just last night to do that. Now, why does this matter? Because the evidence is clear. Children who live near parks with playgrounds are 5 times more likely to be a healthy weight. Access to green spaces improves mental health, boosts academic performance and reduces social isolation. And for children from lower income families, the presence of outdoor recreation areas has an even greater impact on their well-being, helping to close the inequality gap. In a world where our children are increasingly targeted online, where screens compete for their attention, and where mental health challenges are rising, we must offer them something better. We must offer them real spaces to run, to laugh, to imagine and to connect. Parks and open spaces are not just playgrounds for children, they are lifelines for adults too. They help break the cycle of social isolation, especially for older residents, carers, and those living alone. Again, studies show that people who regularly spend time in green spaces report higher levels of life satisfaction, lower levels of loneliness, and improved physical and mental health. In fact, adults who live within a 10-minute walk of a park are 23% more likely to engage in regular social interactions. Parks offer a place to meet, to walk, to talk, and to simply be a part of something bigger than ourselves. In a borough as diverse and dynamic as ours, they are where strangers become neighbours and where community is not just imagined but experienced. This is what sets this Labour Council apart. While others talk about cuts, we invest in people. While others see parks as costs, we see them as crucial infrastructure for health, for happiness, for hope. We are building a borough where every child can flourish, where families feel proud of their neighbourhoods, and where community is not just a word, but a lived experience. Let us continue to lead with compassion, with vision, and with purpose. Let us build not just better playgrounds, but a better future. Thank you.
I've been informed Councillor Ume, Lloyd Harris and Melton would also like to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our Investing in Play and Communities programme is one of the most ambitious investments in play facilities that this borough has ever undertaken. It is rooted in a simple belief that every child deserves exceptional places to learn, play and thrive. Across our parks and estates, from the north, White City, to the south and Fulham, we're creating high quality, inclusive and inspiring playgrounds. Places where children can climb, imagine, explore, and make the kind of memories that last a lifetime. The National Literacy Trust tells us that play is crucial for developing communication, language, and well-being. However, a recent University of Exeter study found that 1 in 3 children don't play outdoors after school, while 1 in 5 don't play outside at all on the weekends. But those who do, they're more confident, more resilient, and better equipped to build relationships. We can't ignore the modern day reality where too many childhoods appear to be moving indoors behind screens and smart technology instead of spaces that build confidence, friendship, and community. That's why this programme matters. At a recent cabinet meeting, we heard from Clementine, a young mother who spoke powerfully about the difference play spaces can make to children's mental and physical health and to maternal well-being too. She's worked hard to help bring this investment to life, and I want to thank her and many others for their passion and their commitment. Just a few weeks ago, I met a family in my ward, a mum, dad, and the little boy Leo, who loves to climb and play outside. But some of the local facilities, while great, just weren't up to scratch in some areas, and we're changing that. We have 95 playgrounds across the borough, 62 in our housing estates, 33 in our parks, and this £8.3 million worth of investment over 3 years ensures that no matter where a child lives, they'll have access to safe, imaginative and inclusive places to play. We also know that the best projects are shaped with residents, and we've listened to parents, as my colleague said, schools and park user groups, and their voices have really guided the priorities. The Hammersmith and Fulham Play Forum will also take this even further. And to this end, as you've heard from my colleague, we're upgrading beloved sites across Ravenscourt Park, Bishop's Park and Wormwood Scrubs, enhancing playgrounds to make them some of the best in the country. And across our estates, we're creating neighbourhoods of belonging. Our playgrounds will have inclusive design principles where children, no matter what their background or their needs, can play safely, joyfully, and parents and grandparents can sit nearby watching friendships form and memories take shape. When I was growing up in White City, I was lucky enough to enjoy the playgrounds that they had there. And now, even though, according to my nephews, I'm incredibly ancient, it's wonderful to get to watch them enjoy some of the playgrounds and areas that I got to enjoy when I was a kid. And so I'm really proud that this council is investing in facilities that will serve this generation and many more to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's me again. Madam Mayor, transforming our playgrounds is something that we can all appreciate, whether as a parent or not. This is an ambitious 3-year plan to transform our 95 playgrounds and play facilities, which is valued at quite a staggering 8.3 million. This is a welcome announcement, and indeed one that has been a long time in coming. I appreciate the significant effort that has gone into this proposal, especially as we recognise that some of our council estates, their play areas, such as Robert Owen House, have sadly fallen below the standard that our children deserve. Yet, we also see shining examples elsewhere of what can be achieved when we aim for excellence. It is time we ensure that this standard is met and maintained across all of the playgrounds. Playgrounds, as has been said previously, are much more than just swings and slides. They are the beating heart of our communities, bringing together, whether it's children, parents, neighbours. It fosters a sense of belonging and well-being, which we can definitely do more of. However, it is clear that many of our playgrounds need improvement so that it guarantees that every child, regardless of where they live, will actually have access to a park or an open space. We must be bold and creative in our approach. Through my experience, both in examining play equipment for a range of ages, such as during the Heritage Lottery funded developments in Bishop's Park, and in working with friends groups here and in Wandsworth, I have learned that park users value innovation and inclusivity. Take the skateboarding area in Bishop's Park. Few expected it to be endorsed by residents, but it was, precisely because it addressed the age gap where we look for primary school children, we provide equipment for them, but teenagers miss out. So this is something that they have really enjoyed and is well used. That's why I support this comprehensive plan to upgrade our playgrounds, working closely with the housing department to ensure our shared spaces meet the needs of every resident. The idea that council tenants don't need innovative and exciting play equipment is a thing of the past. Give all children a reason to be outdoors instead of watching their screens. Let us seize this opportunity to collaborate across departments to involve families and communities and to build better, safer, and more vibrant playgrounds for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Milton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 4 years ago, shortly after my daughter was born, I discovered a completely new side of London. Places I had walked past without a second glance suddenly took on a new significance. My daughter, and more recently my son, have opened my perpetually tired dad eyes to the joys and sanctuary of our borough's play areas. If you're looking for someone with passionately strong opinions about the best play parks in our borough, then I'm your man. Want advice on which swing sets you won't need to queue out on a Saturday morning? Then come and join me and the kids at Hurlingham Park this weekend. Looking for a children's play area with a good spot for a post-run-around picnic? I'll see you in Brook Green or South Park. Need a cool down after some high spirits on a hot summer's day? You can't go wrong with the Ravenscourt Park paddling pools, or a personal favourite of mine, the Bishop's Park sprinklers. Over the last couple of years, I've come to appreciate, as only a slightly harassed and incompetent father of two, desperately looking for activities to enjoy with my children, the hidden social infrastructure of our playgrounds and parks. I will treasure forever the memory of letting go of my daughter as she took her first faltering cycle in Norman Park. I'll less treasure the panic chasing after her when she careened into a hedge. I recall the toothy pride on my son's face at the Frank Banfield Park, where he took a slide face first for the first time. Or then when he opened up a pretend cake shop that then asked me to chew on some twigs and leaves. Our young family, alongside many thousands of others, have discovered new friends in the borough's play parks, whether it's sharing snacks on the benches or sheltering underneath healthy trees in a rainstorm. I suspect that this may be becoming increasingly obvious from my remarks, but alongside my consistently shoddy parenting, as the years have passed, my family have moved beyond being mere appreciators of our play parks into connoisseurs of our play parks. I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a proud owner of Emma Watt's seminal An Opinionated Guide to London's Play Parks, and dozens of our borough's play parks are ranked among the very best in our capital city, remarked on for their thoughtful design, great locations, and exceptional maintenance. They are vital and frequently overlooked public spaces, essential to our social fabric as any school, place of worship, or indeed council chamber. I'd like to pay particular tribute to our council officers and to the Cabinet Member for Housing, Councillor Ume, the Cabinet Member for the Public Realm, Councillor Chavot-Verdier, and indeed Madam Mayor, who've each made tremendous contributions to the maintenance and investment of our play park infrastructure. They stand on the shoulders of giants. Hammersmith and Fulham's 95 play parks are the product of generations of planning and investment. For an extreme example, Ravenscourt Park dates back to a medieval 14th century estate that was then opened to the public in 1888. We owe it to future generations to have the same foresight to safeguard and invest in our green and public spaces, creating room for those little discoveries and joys that make life worth living. This report details how seriously the council takes play across our borough. Its strategic investments ensure that I can look forward to one day taking my grandchildren to their first on this report, and I'm proud to commend it to the council.
Are there any other speakers? Is the report noted?
Noted.
Thank you. Moving now on to item number 6.4, Digital Inclusion Strategy Launch Event Update. I call on Councillor Reid to introduce and speak to the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm excited to be able to present our innovative digital inclusion strategy to the Council. This is another great example of the administration's commitment to co-production, doing things with residents rather than to them. And to that end, I'd like to start by thanking everybody who's made this strategy possible. Firstly, Councillor Chavot-Verdier, who, as our lead member for digital innovation, has driven this project forward and has allowed us to benefit from his considerable expertise. Within the Council, I'd like to thank Ashley, Tina, Maya, Alison, and all of the officers who have put this strategy together and will make sure that it succeeds going forward. And most importantly, I'd like to thank David Isaac and the whole digital accessibility group who have contributed the ideas behind this strategy. When we talk about digitalization in society, too often we talk about it in the future tense. These things will happen. But if you look around us, it's 2025 outside. This is already happening. If you want to pay a check into the bank, you now can't go to a local branch because it's probably closed. Instead, you have to do it on an app. If you want to see your latest electricity bill, it'll no longer be sent to you through the post. Instead, you'll have to download it from the website. If you want to book a GP appointment, you'll no longer be told to call up the surgery. Instead, you'll have to use the online booking system. So much of the world has already moved online, and it will continue to do so. Now, these changes, they save time, they save money, and overall, they give us more access to information and better access to services. But we want to make sure that no residents in our borough get left behind as a result and are unable to access the services that they need. Now, the council itself is moving more services online. I've heard from some naysayers that this is the wrong approach. I say to them, where are your ambitions for the people of this borough? If we had a resident who was illiterate, unable to read, the council wouldn't stop writing things down. We would teach them to read. Why should our approach to digital literacy be any different? Now, there's an outdated view that it's only elderly residents who are affected by these changes. And I think it's particularly insulting because lots of the older residents I know are far more tech savvy than I am. This strategy is for everyone. It's for the school child whose parents can't afford a laptop that they need to do their homework. It's for the neighbour whose children have moved away to start a family, but they still want to see the pictures of their grandchildren growing up. It's for the worker who's just changed their shift pattern and is no longer able to pop down to the post office while it's open. It's a strategy for everybody in our borough who needs a helping hand to make the most of the opportunities that digitalisation brings. Now, the strategy itself is built around 4 key pillars: devices, connectivity, even here in the Irish Centre, advice and guidance, and skills. Our approach is holistic, recognising that digital inclusion is not just about access, it's about confidence, safety, and meaningful engagement. A part of this strategy is the creation of a Digital Inclusion Alliance, a social network in the truest sense of the word. This is a cross-sector coalition of residents, voluntary and community groups, businesses, education providers, and public services. The Alliance will drive forward a shared programme of change, ensuring their efforts are joined up, data-informed, and responsive to local needs. This collaborative model will help us maximise resources, avoid duplication, and deliver a real impact to our residents. Now, this strategy is just the start of our journey, but it gives us a route map to make Hammersmith and Fulham a truly networked neighbourhood. It gives residents the technology and the techniques that they need to thrive in the online world. And I want to thank everybody who has been involved so far, wish them well for the future, and commend this report to the council. Thank you very much.
I've been informed that Councillor Chevaux-Verdier, Adrian Pascoe-Telbert, and Councillor Painter would also like to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My thanks go to Councillor Ree for his true leadership in this. This is something that we started working on many, many years ago. It's taken very many sessions and a lot of writing and evidence gathering, but this is truly a fine example of leadership to have delivered that digital inclusion strategy. This is a genuine milestone in our borough's history. So it's been touched on. In Hammersmith and Fulham, we believe that access to the digital world is not a luxury, it's a right. And today I'm proud to speak in support of this strategy, which I think is a bold and resident-led commitment to ensure that no one is left behind in the digital age. Because as Councillor Ree has set it out, being offline today means being shut out of job opportunities, of education, of healthcare, even banking and democracy itself. It also means paying more for food, for energy, for insurance. It means you're invisible in a world that increasingly assumes you are online. Across our United Kingdom, 7.9 million people still lack basic digital skills. 1.6 million adults do not have access to a smartphone, tablet, or laptop, and as you've heard it from Councillor Ree, it is not always our elderly people, it is often young people. 1.9 million households struggle to afford their mobile contracts, and 3.7 million families fall below the minimum digital living standard. These are not just numbers, they are our neighbours, our residents, our people. They are the people we are elected to serve. The economic cost of this exclusion is staggering. 21 million adults in the UK cannot complete the essential digital tasks needed for work. This is a productivity crisis, and it is a moral one too, because digital exclusion is not just about technology, it's about dignity, opportunity, and justice. Let us be clear about how we got here. The Conservatives had over a decade to act. They published a digital inclusion strategy in 2014, then left it to gather dust. They failed to invest, failed to coordinate, and failed to care. Parliament called their approach unambitious and outdated. While the world moved forward, they stood still, and millions paid the price. Now, Labour is changing that. The new Labour government has made digital inclusion a national priority. Through the Digital Inclusion Action Plan, we are tackling data and device poverty, investing in skills, and making public services easy to access. We are unlocking unused devices, funding local programs, and working with partners like Vodafone and Google to deliver real change. This is what leadership looks like. Here in Hammersmith and Fulham, we are proud to be ahead of the curve. You've heard it, our strategy is built on 4 pillars. We are creating a borough-wide digital inclusion alliance, and we are building a platform to connect residents with support. And we are using data to target help where it is needed the most. But what makes our approach different, what sets this Labour administration apart, is how we do it. We do not impose solutions, we co-create them. Our strategy was shaped by residents, by the voluntary sector, and by the Digital Accessibility Group, a team that I have been part of for 4 years now, made of local people who know what it means to be excluded and who and how to lead the charge of change. This is the Labour difference. While others cut services and leave people behind, we invest in people. We believe in shared prosperity. We believe in doing things with residents, not to them. And we believe that a compassionate council is one that ensures every resident can participate fully in modern life. Digital inclusion is not just about getting online, it's about unlocking potential. It's about giving our people the tools to find work, to access healthcare, to connect with their community, and have a voice in our democracy. Let us continue to lead with vision, with empathy, and with action. Let us build a borough where everyone can connect, contribute, and belong. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, from this side of the chamber. We welcome the administration's focus on digital inclusion, though if you're not into the weeds of this might sound like management speak. It is actually of deep importance to the well-being of people in Hammersmith and Fulham, including, as has been stated by both councillors, many of our most vulnerable residents. A compassionate council has to be digitally inclusive and ensure that no resident is left behind in this increasingly digital age. So I'm very glad the launch event has gone well, and I endorse the broad objectives of the digital inclusion strategy. Having worked myself with Good Things Foundation before in a different capacity, I know they're absolute leaders in this field and have an excellent grasp of issues, especially at national level. There is one thing, though, we now have to make it work in practice. And in the past year, for instance, we've had a highly disruptive renewal of all parking permits, asking for information which should already have been on file in a rigid and prescriptive way that left many elderly residents who use landlines or relatively antiquated computer systems deeply confused, deeply frustrated. That meant the deficiencies didn't materialize. We've had residents who use landlines consistently unable to book their visitors in via Ringo, one of whom emailed me recently in despair, saying, "The system is utterly broken down and I can't find a phone number to call and get help from." We've had residents unable to sign petitions because the system doesn't allow them to log in, spending hours on the phone and being moved from pillar to post,
and a near neighbour of mine, well into her 90s, who communicates by this wonderful, old-fashioned, reliable pen and paper, unable to respond to a consultation that affects her. I know, as decent people, we all agree that these voices matter too. And this is where the digital inclusion strategy, finely worded and full of good initiatives as it is, misses a vital point. Inclusion is fundamentally about the skills and the kit and the confidence to get what you need from the council, which means when it's online, it has to be presented clearly, straightforwardly. And we should always challenge ourselves that we do actually present council information as openly and accessibly as possible so people know who to go to, where to go. And that also means that the council has to commit to offer help from a real person if residents get stuck and cannot access that info. Now, I try reading the strategy from the point of view of some of my residents who I know struggle in the world of apps and who think that cookies are a tea time treat. And yeah, the language I'm using is quite heavily about older residents. I appreciate that. I completely get that people who are digitally excluded come from many, many, many more categories. But very often as councillors, the day-to-day bread and butter is with some of our older residents. So I find myself looking at it from their perspective and missing this fundamental point that they are not receiving, that should they need it, there will be someone on hand, real person, to help them navigate online council and related services. And the same principle applies to the other digitally excluded groups within Hammersmith and Fulham. They should not be second-class citizens. They can't just be told, you've got the kit, you've got the connectivity, you've got a bit of training, off you go. So I hope that in the coming months, this strategy, which we support, can be refined to give our residents that greater sense of reassurance that the council will be there and support them, whatever their needs. In essence, that the council will be more inclusive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Oh, sorry, Councillor Painter, sorry. My apologies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We now approach the final months of the year when roundup lists and best of moments are published. I'm personally looking forward to my Spotify Unwrapped being nothing but Taylor Swift's Life of a Showgirl, modern masterpiece. With that in mind, I recently found myself reading up about last year's Oxford Dictionary word of the year, brain rot, a slang term for the mental decline from overconsumption of low-quality content. It sparked widespread discussion at the time, and continues to do so, about the negative impact of technology on our minds, especially on children's imagination and cognitive development. As I reflected on this, I realised that H&F's approach to digital inclusion stands in stark contrast to that narrative. Rather than encouraging brain rot, our strategy offers a responsible and empowering way to harness the vast potential of digital technologies. It's about ensuring that innovation benefits everyone, not just a privileged few. For millennia, new technologies have always created divides between those who have access and those who do not. Whether it was the wheel, clean running water, or increasingly powerful smartphones, access has often depended on wealth, geography, or education. But what's less often discussed is how digital tools, when properly used, can actually free up time, reduce stress, and enable healthier, more fulfilling lives, especially for those who need those things the most. From automating prescription renewals to simplifying financial transactions, or even AI making you a follow-up appointment at the fracture clinic after you fall over quite embarrassingly on your holiday. Technology has already made countless everyday tasks so much easier. And yet, it's often those with the least time, lowest income, or limited digital literacy who stand to benefit the most, but are least able to access these tools. Beyond the home, there's a broader question. How do we shape our communities and our futures in a world increasingly defined by digital spaces? We know that online platforms amplify certain voices, sometimes disproportionately and not always truthfully. During COVID, misinformation spread rapidly, in part because many lacked the digital literacy to identify credible sources. The consequences, including those as dangerous as vaccine hesitancy and cuts to global health programs, are still with us today. It may seem dramatic to trace global events back to a few posts on Facebook,
But the reality is, how we behave online matters, as we have responsibilities in our physical communities, so we must also act responsibly in digital spaces. Families, communities, and local governments all play a role in shaping how we engage with the digital world. And as that world evolves rapidly, local government has a vital responsibility to guide, inform, and support our residents in navigating new technologies, not just so they can live easier, more productive lives, but so they can help build a safer, kinder, and more inclusive society. We are standing at a unique moment in our history. The opportunities offered by digital technology are unlike anything we've seen before, and perhaps even beyond what we can currently imagine. But with that opportunity comes a responsibility to be as committed to inclusion and ethical use as we are to innovation. That's why I'm proud to be part of an administration that has worked hand in hand with residents to develop an incredibly comprehensive digital inclusion strategy, and I'm delighted to give it my support this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Is the report noted? Thank you. Item number 6.5, allocation of seats and proportionality on committees. Is the report noted? Item number 6.6, review of the Constitution. I call upon the leader, Councillor Cowan, to move the report and recommendations.
Formally moved.
Is the report and its recommendations agreed? Lovely. Item number 6.7, Members' Allowances Scheme Review for 25-26. I call upon the leader, Councillor Cowan, to move the report and recommendations.
Formally moved.
Is the report and its recommendations agreed? We have a no. Okay. We will put the report to the vote. Okay. Those in favour? Put your hands down. What's that okay? Those against? Those not voting? The motion is carried. Okay, moving on now to item number 7, the special motions. Special motion number 1, supporting H&F primary schools. I call on Councillor Sanderson and Emo to move and to second.
Formally moved.
Formally seconded.
I call on Councillor Sanderson and Emo to speak for the administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will often tell anyone who'll listen that Hammersmith and Fulham has the best schools in the country, and now I am thrilled to have some empirical evidence to actually back that up. Our primary schools have just been recognised as the best in England by the Department for Education, with more of our pupils than anywhere else in the country reaching and surpassing the standards they need in reading, writing and maths to set them up for life. Behind every one of those children is an inspirational teacher or brilliant member of the school team, a whole education community passionately committed to making sure our young people reach every iota of potential. Just one of the many reasons why every single one of our schools is rated good or outstanding by Ofsted. We often say that if you want to shape the future of the borough, not just for the short term, but for the next 100 years, we do that by getting things right for our children, giving them every opportunity to flourish, to give them the choices and chances they need and deserve to become healthy, happy citizens of the future. We know that when children are supported early, they're set up to thrive later in life. That's why we've launched our new Pathway Bond, our promise to open doors for young people into the jobs and industries of the future, right here in Hammersmith and Fulham. Already, pupils from local schools are meeting industry experts from over 90 local businesses and starting to imagine what their futures might look like here in the heart of our community. We're also proud to help support families with the things that matter day to day. Free breakfast in all our primary schools, so no child starts the day hungry. Help with uniform and transport costs for families who need it. Free lunches and activities at every single holiday club, including this half term. And our family hubs offering everything from practical support to specialist help for children with additional needs or disabilities. And while youth clubs have been shuttering across the country, ours are thriving. In Fulham, whether that's specialist youth activities for children hosted by Action on Disability, or at the Brunswick Club celebrating its 80th year, or in the centre and the north of the borough, two youth clubs a century apart, the state-of-the-art West Youth Zone in White City is celebrating its first birthday, and the Solgrave Youth Club in Hammersmith has just turned 100. All of them providing spaces for our young people to socialise, learn and grow in a safe environment with their peers. As a community, we'll keep making Hammersmith and Fulham the best place for children to grow up, the safer, stronger, kinder borough. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nemo, are you speaking now?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not often in politics that we get to stand up and say something this clear, this unqualified, and this true. Hammersmith and Fulham's primary schools are the best in the country. #1 in maths, reading and writing. And that's not just my opinion, it's the Department for Education's data. And it's a result that everyone in this borough should be proud of. From the teachers who go the extra mile, support staff who make our schools safe and welcoming, parents who stand behind them, and most importantly, the children who rise to the challenge every day. Today, we thank them for what they have achieved. Every single one of our primary schools is rated good or outstanding, and our pupils are achieving the best results in the country. If you want to see what educational success looks like, go and visit Arc White City Primary School. It's inclusive, inspiring, right in the heart of one of London's most diverse communities. It's part of a bigger vision, the Upstream London Industrial Strategy. Upstream is about linking our schools with the borough's thriving innovation economy, the life sciences, tech, media and creative industries that make H&F the fastest growing borough in London for economic growth. We're not just educating children for exams, we're preparing them for the future right here in the new White City Innovation District, in the labs, studios and startups that's driving growth. That's what a joined up local vision looks like, where schools, skills, classrooms and careers are part of one strategy. But let's be honest, Madam Mayor, this has all been achieved in spite of the conditions created by 14 years of Conservative austerity. Let's not rewrite history. In government, the Conservatives slashed school budgets and called it reform. They froze teachers' pay and called it discipline. They cut council funding and called it efficiency. They told us there was no alternative, and here in Hammersmith and Fulham, we proved them wrong, because we have always tried to do things differently. We reject the politics of decline and despair. And when the Conservatives dismantled local government, we did remarkable things. Well, they told us, you can't. We undertook to do the impossible. No other council has launched an innovative industrial strategy such as Upstream, or forms links with European cities, which create new opportunities for children to travel and learn, or created a gangs violence and exploitation unit that protects the most vulnerable children for harm. And now, at long last, we have a Labour government in Westminster that understands this, a government that's working with councils and not against them. Because let's not forget, this borough pioneered one of the most transformative policies in the country, free breakfast for every primary school child. Madam Mayor, we all heard what the Tories think of this policy the last time we sat in this council chamber. They would cut it. They think it's a waste of money. We understand something they never can. A hungry child cannot learn. That's the measure of a good society. Isn't how it treats the most privileged, but how it feeds, educates and uplifts every child, regardless of circumstance. Madam Mayor, the local Conservatives, time and time again, show themselves to be no different from their national party. In the words of their leader, a distressed asset. And now, under a Labour government, the universal free breakfast has become national policy. What started here in Hammersmith and Fulham has gone national. That, Madam Mayor, is the difference between austerity and ambition, between a government that cuts and a government that cares, between a politics that divides and a politics that delivers. And this is what this motion is about tonight. We're not just congratulating our schools, though they deserve every ounce of praise. we're reaffirming what this borough stands for. So thank you to all the teachers, assistants, governors, council officers, parents, and above all, the children, for what we can proudly say this evening. We will never again allow a government to tell us that good enough is good enough for our young people, because this council has shown the country how it's done. We fed our children when others, including the party opposite, turned their backs. We built schools when others cut budgets. We created opportunities when others only offered excuses. And we will keep leading, building, and proving that once and for all, the future belongs to those who believe in fairness, in education, and most importantly, in hope. Thank you.
I've been informed that councillors Elzel Khan and Lang would also like to speak.
Madam Mayor, I would like to begin by congratulating the pupils, teachers, governors, and parents. The data speak for themselves. Every maintained and academy school in Hammersmith and Fulham is rated good or outstanding, and the outcomes beat national averages across the board. At Key Stage 2, 70.2% of pupils meet expected standards in reading, writing, and maths, far above the national 59.6%. And 17.4% reach a higher standard, double the national rate. Progress scores are likewise exceptional, and phonics performance in Year 1 is well above national averages. As an opposition councillor, it's my job to remind colleagues that success today does not guarantee sustainability tomorrow. The council's own paper acknowledges a significant reduction in primary pupil numbers caused by falling birth rates. Funding follows pupils. So falling rolls means budget shortfalls. Unless this is managed responsibly, there is a risk of undermining the very standards that we celebrate here today. The administration's Strengthening Education Provision Plan proposes phased reductions in planned admission number, discourages short-term capping, and suggests amalgamation before closure. As Conservatives, we will hold the council to these commitments, ensuring proper consultation with parents, transparency in decision-making, and support for staff. The children and families deserve choice and quality. It would be remiss not to acknowledge that much of this success stems from national Conservative policies. The Conservative government's reforms, new curricula, rigorous assessments, and the academy programme have driven up standards nationally. Investments in English hubs and maths mastery programs, plus the ambition for 90% of pupils to meet expected standards by 2030, and targeted support through the National Tutoring Programme provided the framework within which the schools are thriving today. As Conservatives, we believe in raising standards and giving schools the autonomy and support to excel. Let us be clear, we support this motion because it celebrates the schools and commits to planning for the future. But we will scrutinise the administration's actions to ensure that falling rolls and financial pressures are managed without compromising quality. The children deserve nothing less. I commend the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Lang.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'd like to support Councillors Sanderson and Nemo in this motion, supporting Hammersmith and Fulham's primary schools. For what a story this is. Education from cradle to the grave, or as someone once wrote, from sperm to the worm. Here in Labour, Hammersmith and Fulham, we support and nurture all aspects of education. At the last council meeting, I remember we celebrated the 150th anniversary of the Macbeth Centre and its pioneering work in adult education. And we are seeing the very positive impact of our partnerships with universities in our borough. Look at the innovative work with Imperial and other universities, including UCL, particularly in the arts, a university where I recently studied as a very, very mature student. And our new groundbreaking pathway bond, I understand to be launched tomorrow in Westminster, which shows our ambitions for education, but for skills and for training. Our family hubs providing local and practical support to families, our continuing uniform and transport cost support, and that is so important to many families. Our work in supporting our secondary schools, holiday clubs, including those coming up in next week's half term, our early intervention strategy, which you heard about earlier, our informal youth work programmes and work with youth services, for example, at West Youth Zone White City. I've been there a couple of times and I always come out just saying, wow, it is a superb facility for young people in one of the toughest areas, not just in London, but in the country. But we're giving young people that opportunity. And of course, our groundbreaking work and support in primary schools, all outstanding and good, judged by Ofsted. Free breakfast for all primary school children in Hammersmith and Fulham, now taken up, as we've heard, as a national policy. And Madam Mayor, now we know that Hammersmith and Fulham primary schools are the best in the country. In this year's Key Stage 2 results, maths, reading and writing, I remember that as the 3 Rs, 76% of children, and even by my maths, that's more than 3/4, reached and surpassed the national standards. The national average was 62%, and London was the highest achieving region, with our Hammersmith and Fulham children topping the list in a remarkable achievement for all of our young people, their inspiring teachers, support staff, head teachers, parents, carers, governors and officers. And I will also call out Councillor Sanderson for her outstanding work in the whole field of education. And I say it's remarkable because I was reminded in the paper today, a headline, Boris, our lockdowns failed kids. That's what he said yesterday. This was the cohort of young people starting out in schools around the time of COVID. And all evidence and research clearly shows that these achievements of our Hammersmith and Fulham students will take through life, not only enabling them to succeed at school with their future examinations, benefiting themselves, their families, all of us here in Hammersmith and Fulham, and indeed the country, both economically and socially, but also in their successes individually, developing self-confident young people with self-esteem and self-worth, so important in our post-COVID world. So what better example for those outstanding results of hope for our young people and our community moving forward. So once again, many congratulations to everyone involved. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers? I now call on Councillor Sanderson to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor. I think how we treat our children says so much about our priorities, and the official statistics don't lie. When I first looked at them, I was angered and shocked by the story they told, and it happened in plain sight. In January 2024, 200,000 children were waiting for mental health treatment, with many regularly skipping school. There were 1 million children missing a day of school per fortnight at that point, with mental health of young people a serious cause for concern. The number of children and young people admitted to hospital with an eating disorder increased by 90% in the 5 years up to 2021. And that figure was up by over a third, 35% in 21-22. More children became unhealthy, with 2 in every 5 leaving primary school overweight. But most damning of all, the number one reason for young children being admitted to hospital was to extract rotten teeth, because it was so difficult to get an NHS dental treatment before tooth decay set in. That is an abomination. A rotten tooth is a Victorian disease that should not be happening in our country in this day and age. Incredibly, after 14 years of the Tories, the rise in life expectancy stalled and in some cases reversed. The economically illiterate approach of austerity, coupled with Brexit and cruel policies, plunged hundreds of thousands of children and families into abject poverty. And we will not take lessons from the party who put this all in place. The party of Michael Gove, who made it a day one priority to cut the funding to rebuild our schools, which means that we are in a situation where we're having to patch up schools that needed investment for the past 20 years. We will not take lessons from the party who reformed and reduced the curriculum to a learning by rote approach, excluding so many children who think creatively and differently from achieving exam results that they so richly deserve, who chronically underfunded and completely ignored the ticking time bomb of falling birth rates when it is so clear it's going to have seismic impact, not just in our schools, our universities, but our country as a whole. I do want to thank every single member of our brilliant school community, and to anyone who has school-age children, please do send them to our schools because they are the best in the country. But please do not think that this is not hard won and hard fought. This is such a priority to our administration. Love that we're trying to take credit for some of the wins, but we're happy to share the glory. Thank you for commending the motion. I do recognise that. And as I say, please do send your children to our schools. They are the best in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the motion agreed? Okay, I declare the motion carried. Moving now on to special motion number 2, strengthening public safety through investment in CCTV. I call on Councillor Harvey and Souslis to move and to second.
Move.
Formally seconded.
I call on Councillors Harvey and Souslis to speak for the administration.
Madam Mayor, the motion is about strengthening our public safety through investment in our CCTV. We are investing 3.2 million to upgrade our CCTV and surveillance technology to support the police in fighting crime and antisocial behaviour in our borough. We already have well over 2,300 CCTV cameras in the borough, and we're going to build on that. This 3.2 million investment comes on top of a previous 5.4 million investment. So we are putting in huge sums of money because we take seriously the safety of every resident living in this borough. And it is part of a multi-year plan taking us up to 2028. So we recognise it won't happen overnight. It's a plan of huge investment that we will get right and we will deliver for our residents. These new enhancements will see artificial intelligence, so AI, live and retrospective facial recognition across our network, with 20 live recognition cameras in our high spot areas to tackle really serious crime taking place there. We will also take 500 existing cameras and upgrade those. We'll take 50 cameras and we'll ensure that they've got speakers so we can actually send messages to people who are conducting antisocial behaviour in our borough. And it complements the work of the police and the work that we've been doing over a number of years. It's part of our crime fighting strategy. We have other measures that we're putting in place in addition to this. And the aim is to improve crime and detection in our borough. And as I said, it's building on the millions that we've already invested in CCTV, in the LETs, in the gangs unit, and working alongside the police very closely, our wider partners in public health and probation. Our previous superintendent, Craig Knight, recently said that this work was it was an incredible investment. And our new superintendent has said he's not seeing anything like this commitment from partners anywhere else. So we are truly doing outstanding work. We're leading the way in the field that other councils across the country are just not doing. Our CCTV footage has helped hundreds of arrests and contributed to people being charged for crimes that they've committed in our borough. We are committed to making our borough safer, and I commend this report to the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased to be seconding this motion. I spent quite a few years in my previous role as the chair of the Social Inclusion Community Safety Pack, where we looked at our CCTV network and how we could improve it and make it better. It's testament to Councillor Harvey's and her whole team's hard work that we're here discussing this now and that we are able to put this investment into action. And I'd particularly like to thank the CCTV team, especially Sid and Adrian, but every officer who are in there day in, day out, 24/7, monitoring the cameras and keeping us safe. And they're doing a fantastic job. And I'm not just saying this because they are always responsive and very kind, which is always a very rare, but a very good quality to have. It's also the fact that they get results for our residents. I see that in my ward all the time. I've seen it over the last couple of months. We've had a series of incidents, for example, with arson on bins or some robberies. And whenever I've been in touch with them and said, you might want to look at this, they've immediately come back, they found the people, and they've been helping the police. As Councillor Harvey said, it's been so heartening to hear over the last few years the police commend that the work that they do and how this leads to arrests and also prosecutions, and it delivers the results. And so good is the work that they do that it's now Westminster and Kensington and Chelsea Council that are relying on these officers to continue to do the work and to keep their residents safe. And of course, it is also a testament to the work we do as a council, also as it tackles issues like fly tipping and, sorry, I'm just, yeah. Yes, it's not just the requests from councillors that bring results, it's also the fact that residents are constantly requesting for more cameras and more CCTV to come in our wards. And this is testament to the hard work that they do and how if we could have more cameras, as we will now with this investment, more modern, more efficient, we will be able to keep our residents safer and to make sure that we're tackling crime, which is always a top priority for our residents. It's been a shame, obviously up to now, but a shame that residents understand when we have to say to them that due to constraints, with costs, due to priorities, we're not able perhaps to have cameras exactly where they would like. So I'm really looking forward to be able to say to them that now we'll be able to roll out more cameras that will be keeping them safe. I welcome the new investments and I commend this motion. Thank you.
I've been informed that Councillors Alfonso, Homan and Downer Sanderson also wish to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Keeping people safe is the first duty of local government. Residents want to know the council is on their side, backing the police and using common sense tools to deter crime and bringing offenders to justice. On that basis, we will support this motion cautiously, constructively, and with a clear focus on value for money, civil liberties and results. So our support comes with clear expectations. First, that these measures be necessary and proportionate, with no drift into the general population scanning. Furthermore, we'd like to see retention periods be short and explicit. Secondly, there needs to be independent oversight and transparency, including establishing an external panel to scrutinise deployments and annual outcomes. Thirdly, there needs to be clear red lines, no function creep into non-policing issues, as a public question raised today. Fourthly, training and accountability. Every operator and officer using these tools should be trained to the legal thresholds, bias risks, and evidence handling standards. And fifth, value for money. Tie this investment to measurable outcomes and milestone reviews. Whilst there have been disagreements in the past over the law enforcement team, what matters is that frontline officers are supported to keep our streets safe. This is not about party politics. It is about the quiet liberty of being able to walk home without fear. Used responsibly, technology can be a force multiplier for the rule of law. Used carelessly, it erodes trust. Tonight, we choose the former, supporting this motion, but insisting on safeguards that protect both public safety and the freedoms we are here to uphold. And on the subject of supporting our frontline officers, we have been proud to lead from the front to save our police counter in Hammersmith Police Station, which your mayor, Sadiq Khan, wanted to close. 2 weeks after we launched our campaign to save the police counter, the administration was missing in action. Faced with the loss of an important element of policing, you said nothing. They either lack the desire or the confidence to tackle their soft on crime mayor as he continued to whittle down our share of police resources. By contrast, we wrote to the administration immediately after launching our campaign, offering to work with them to prevent the salami slicing of our local police resource, offering solutions to preserve the counter that the council could implement with our support. Following this, and a groundswell of public support, they appear to have also decided they opposed it. But until last week, when we finally had some good news that the mayor had U-turned, we have successfully saved our counter. Thousands of residents backed our petition, and thanks to the power of our campaign, this vital resource will remain open for the foreseeable future. We on this side will never stop fighting to protect our police resources and keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Homan.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about CCTV in Hammersmith and Fulham, a vital component of the borough's public safety strategy. Hammersmith and Fulham is proud to be at the forefront of using this technology. With, as we've heard, over 2,000 CCTV cameras, we have more than any other borough. But let's be clear, this isn't about watching, it's about protecting. Our CCTV network is the cornerstone of our efforts to reduce crime, improve emergency response, and reassure our residents. Firstly, let me talk about the impact. In the past year alone, our CCTV system has supported hundreds of police investigations from theft to violent crime, helped reduce antisocial behaviour in key hotspots like Shepherd's Bush and Fulham Broadway, and enabled real-time monitoring at major events such as at Stamford Bridge. Undoubtedly, it's been in use this evening at the match, and Craven Cottage stadiums. But we're not stopping there. As you've heard, the council has committed a further £3.2 million to upgrade our CCTV infrastructure, which includes 500 upgraded cameras with AI capabilities for automatic suspect tracking, weapon detection, and rapid footage researches. 20 new facial recognition cameras deployed in 10 high crime locations, and 100 cameras equipped with loudspeakers and spotlights to deter criminal activity in real crime. These enhancements are already making a difference, and facial recognition technology is verified by trained human operators in helping the police identify repeat offenders and intervene faster. AI analytics is improving situational awareness, especially in areas like Hammersmith Town Centre and along the A4 corridor. On a personal note, as one of my colleagues has already mentioned, I'd like to add that as a ward councillor, it's really rare to attend a residents' meeting these days without hearing more calls for more CCTV, whether it's concerned about fly tipping, drug activity, or late night disturbances. Residents consistently tell us they want more eyes on the street. And I'd be very surprised if there's not a person in this chamber this evening who can put their hand on their heart and say that they know different. We also see a shift when we're out knocking on doors. More and more homes now have Ring or very similar doorbells. You know, those glowing blue halos that greet us before the residents do, and of course also sometimes filter us out. In fact, between 2.7 and 3.3 million UK homes now have these devices installed. Adoption jumped from 22% in 2024 to 30% in 2025, with the fastest growth taking place in areas like ours. It's clear residents are choosing smart surveillance, not just in public places, but for their own front doors. Of course, we take the concerns about privacy very seriously. All surveillance is governed by the Surveillance Camera Code of Practice, and every match from facial recognition is manually verified before action is taken. We are committed to transparency, accountability, and the ethical use of technology. In conclusion, CCTV is not just a camera on the pole, it's a lifeline for public safety. It helps protect 180,000 Hammersmith and Fulham residents. It supports the police and it builds a borough where people feel safe to live and work. It's also very popular with our residents. We will continue this investment because it's just one strand of this Labour Council's determination to make this a stronger, safer and kinder borough. Please support this motion this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Downer-Sanderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to cautiously welcome the administration's investment in the borough's CCTV network. CCTV is not a silver bullet, but it is one of the most effective tools we have to support the police. Here in Hammersmith and Fulham, it's led to hundreds of arrests and has played a vital role in some of the most serious investigations, including a double murder in Shepherd's Bush, a fatal shooting in West Kensington, and is ongoing in helping catch offenders in hit-and-run cases. These are powerful reminders of why a CCTV network matters, not just for reassurance, but for real results and convictions. I also want to commend the control room team. Their role goes far beyond watching screens. They recognise criminal behaviour, know hotspots, and respond in real time. Their behind-the-scenes efforts make a real difference to keeping our borough safe. Councillor Afonso and I are looking forward to visiting the control room next week, where we'll be able to see that work in action for ourselves. We also welcome the exploration of AI to improve the network. New technology can help identify incidents more quickly and support the police more effectively. My understanding is that the council's CCTV contractor is currently working to identify the best software module to integrate AI into the network. That is a sensible step, but this work should have taken place before any policy announcement was made. My concern is that the administration has rushed to make an announcement before this process is complete, the technology tested, and the cameras ready to be updated. That risks putting political pressure on the process and weakening the council's position. I hope the administration hasn't jumped the gun for political gain. Time will tell whether this is a real upgrade or just headline chasing. I certainly hope it is the former. We also have new facial recognition cameras coming in and the prospect of drones being used by the authorities here in Hammersmith and Fulham. Those raise different concerns, more about privacy and proportionality. Residents will rightly want reassurance that any facial recognition technology is only used in partnership with the police to cross-reference criminal databases, even if national legislation were to expand its uses in the future. Now, DNA databases were once controversial when they were introduced, but proved vital in getting convictions. I believe facial recognition could do the same, which is why we on this side do support its limited use. And on drones, this is a curious one, and something I must say I'm a bit more skeptical about. The council's website suggests that drones might be used to tackle fly tipping. That sounds a bit draconian and maybe even a bit impractical. We already have residents being punished for minor offences like putting the bins out a couple hours early. I don't think we need drones flying overhead to crack down further on these law-abiding residents. Some clarification from the administration would be welcome. Another example that I understand is being considered is flying drones over our parks at night. This also raises some questions about proportionality, privacy, and public trust. I'm no expert, but it strikes me that there are far easier ways for people to get drugs than climbing over a fence at night. I'm not quite sure what the council expects to find in our parks at night, or perhaps they do. I am not really sure. I know this is in the early stages and nothing has been decided yet, but I strongly suspect most residents will share some skepticism about the use of drones. I'm interested to see how these proposals develop, and I hope we'll see a serious conversation about proportionality and value for money before anything is taken forward. The administration's CCTV announcement is certainly attention-grabbing, and we agree with the principle behind it. catching and locking up criminals. That is something that simply isn't happening enough across the country. But the administration now needs to follow through with value for money, proportionate upgrades that protect residents' privacy and genuinely serve their stated purpose. Announcements are easy to make. Delivering them properly is what really matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
No, the leader.
Oh, sorry, leader. I missed you.
Thanks very much. I suppose I should just clarify some of the points raised by the opposition and try and frame it in the context of what we're doing here. There is that, without doubt, if ever you meet a victim of crime, a child who has been robbed at the point of a knife, a mother who has lost a child because of a knife, or just somebody who had their phone stolen while they were walking down a road. It is harrowing to the victim. And so this administration, ever since it came through the door, sent by our residents to do their bidding in 2014, has had a very clear message. If you're a victim, we are on your side. And it's as clear cut as that. Now, we recognize that crime is a pernicious and fundamental thing. It is also, in our philosophy, a failure of society that is happening. And that's why we carry so many holistic approaches to trying to repair and improve and one day make the good society that all of us strive for. But let's be clear, when we do and work for these inspirational things, that we have to be tough on crime. Now, I'm always suspicious when I hear mealy-mouthed support. We do support you, but is it value for money? We do support you, but are you going too far? We think it's a good idea, but then again, is it all really necessary? Whenever you hear this, and this is what I've taught my children, question what the person is really telling you. And that's what we heard tonight from the opposition. So let me be very, very clear. The criminal justice system is broken. Pick up any newspaper, talk to anyone who works in that service. It is broken, which means criminals are getting away and they're being released onto our streets. Fixing that takes money and time. The new Labour government has said about that. And the police system is under some of the greatest pressures before. Why? Because it was underfunded by the Conservative government, but also the nature of crime has changed. County lines gangs are super well organised, using the latest technology. When we set up our gangs unit, we took out 600 county lines people in the first 3 months. But guess what? They lived across the United Kingdom as far away as Northern Ireland and Glasgow. It's a well-organised crime, and it is pernicious. It eats into the soul of our society. So we will take every single measure. That's why this borough has put more CCTV than anywhere else in the country, more than anywhere else. Guess what? The only time you can really guarantee a conviction is when they're on CCTV. But it's not the cameras that are expensive, it's the monitoring of the cameras, hiring super recognizers. So we're not just doing that, we're investing in the latest tech, using AI to marry up what we know with the smartest intelligence, identify criminals, picking on the victim and putting them away. Like, you might say that's too far. You might say that's not good value for money. And we've heard for the last 4 years that the law enforcement team we set up to patrol our streets and protect our residents and be the eyes and ears of the borough, they said they scrapped it. Meeting after meeting after meeting, and voted against its budget. When we put the CCTV scheme in first, what did they do? They voted against the budget. And when we set up a gangs unit and said we're going to work with the police and intelligence officers to go after these people damaging our society and save the kids as young as 8 who were being press ganged into criminality, they voted against the budget. So broken societies need fixing, and our government's doing that. And you heard tonight from my fantastic cabinet and our team that we're doing that. But at the bottom line for us is crime has no place in this borough. These soft on crime opposition have no place in this borough. And this administration will always say to the victims, we are on your side. You had no right to suffer what you've suffered, and we will put our money and service into that investment. Thank you very much.
Are there any other speakers?
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. I'd like to talk about what happens in a politicised budget. The administration puts a lot of things into a budget, and they put quite a lot of good things in there, and they put quite a lot of mediocre things in there, and they put quite a lot of things in there that are going to be totally unacceptable to the other side, and the other side votes against it. That's what happens in a budget. That's what happens politically. And of course, then the administration will say, oh, look, all of the good things we put in this budget, they voted against it, and make a political point, quite a cheap political point, quite a basic political point, quite a sixth form debating society political point. We can, I think, do better than that. And I think our residents actually expect a higher level of politics than what we've heard tonight. And I get where the gentleman's coming from, but really, come on, let's up our game. Let's not just go on about, we voted against budgets. And when he says, oh, well, they're being mealy-mouthed about this because they didn't agree with everything I say that is enough gaslighting going on there to light up our parks, so we barely need a system of lighting. Let's do better. Let's up our game. Let's up our debating. And let's have a political debate that our residents can really be proud of us for. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You started something.
Madam Mayor, this wasn't just about voting against the whole budget. This was about specific speeches made by the then deputy leader, with you all clapping behind, saying that the law enforcement team was a bad idea, it should be scrapped, and the money should be sent to the police. That was your policy. We've never heard you change your mind on it. I know he's now gone off to spend more time with his other council group that he magically found very quickly after he left claiming family reasons. But though that is a policy, that's what you clapped, that's what you voted for. You voted against the law enforcement team. That is on record. So trying to pretend that it's part of like the entire budget of the council and that secretly you've been in favor of the law enforcement team the whole time, that is disingenuous. That isn't good debating. That is wrong because it's on the record. You can go back and listen to the debates that we've had on crime since 2022, and you were consistently against law enforcement team. And it's not good enough for you to pretend like that's not the case. And then in terms of being mealy-mouthed, we've heard today from Councillor Downers Henderson that fly tipping isn't even an issue, that we're being heavy-handed by even worrying about fly tipping. Well, we hear from residents that as it is across London, fly tipping is a concern, and I think they will be happy that we're vigorously chasing it. And also the idea that safety in parks at night isn't a serious issue. Again, absolutely ridiculous. We hear from residents that they want to feel safe in parks at night, and that's why we're investing in this. That's what mealy-mouthed means. When you doubt the need to crack down on fly tipping, when you doubt the need to keep our parks safe. Well, we are doing both those things, and we think residents will support us. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reid?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to say a point about politicising budgets as well. Councillor Pascal Toubre said that budgets have good things in, bad things in. Unfortunately, I remember the budget speeches that the opposition made back in February. I don't think they picked out a single bad thing they could find in the budget. We heard a speech from him, in particular, on the Mayor of London. We don't control the Mayor of London's budget. We have no say over that. It seems to me that was an entirely political speech that didn't point out a single thing that was wrong with what we were doing in H&F. The leader is absolutely right to say that when it comes to your tough talk on crime, it is mealy-mouthed. This contingent support, as well, we might support it now, but we probably won't do it later on, is exactly what you have done in all of the time that this council has been in power. You say time and time again, you've said in all of your leaflets, that you want more measures to tackle crime. Yet you were given the chance to vote for £2.1 million for the LEP team, £1 million for the gangs unit, £300,000 to prevent violence against women and girls, and just back in February, £5.4 million investment in our CCTV network. and you voted against all of it. Now, that is mealy-mouthed. You should tell your residents, when they tell you that they want tougher measures on crime, that you don't support it and you voted against all of them. Now, it seems to me there are three groups of people in this borough who don't support the administration's stance on crime. Firstly, we have the pearl-clutching civil liberties groups like Big Brother Watch, who seem to have opposed this current investment. Then we have Tory councillors, and then we have criminals, the people who are mugging residents, stealing from our shops, attacking residents in the borough. They are aligning themselves with them, and we are aligning ourselves with the rest of the public, the people who support these measures, and I'm very happy to do so. Thank you very much.
I now call on Councillor Harvey to sum up.
I never thought the opposition would give me so much opportunity to laugh, but laugh indeed.
Sorry, Councillor Harvey, my fault. In the enjoyment of it all, I missed Councillor Jones. Sorry, apologies. So if you would sit for a second, can I ask Councillor Jones to speak, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So without labouring the point, but I am going to labour the point, we have spent, as both Councillor Schmidt and Councillor Ree have said, we have spent 4 years in this chamber listening to why you would not support the LET teams, why you, as was said, voted against the millions of pounds invested in those teams, why the teams weren't effective, why the police needed other investment, why many reasons. And I mean, if there must be a general sense of amnesia on the opposition benches, because there are hours of this recorded. This is a public meeting. Your statements, your speeches are very long indeed. And they're all about why we don't need the LET team. And we have spent many hours in this room. What I want to come back to is the reality of this. You know, back to Councillor Schmidt's point, mealy-mouthed is saying one thing, not backing up with action. We have a budget, we have a LET team. If you had had your way in terms of these discussions, we would not have those things, right? There are many residents, you can't have your way in both ways. We have other motions we won't have time to talk about debate. Amongst the discussion of Uxbridge Road, residents in my ward are concerned about safety. We are investing in state-of-the-art technology. We have London leading LET team, which you voted against, spoke against time and time again. These are addressing the crime issues that our residents are worried about. And I mean, it simply will not stand that after 3 years of it, you can stand up and say, actually, we, as Councillor Schmidt said, we thought this was okay all along. You did not say that. You actively campaigned and spoke against it time and time again. And if you can't remember, please do go online, because there is hours and hours of this on the council's website where you can check your own words. And of course, some of the words of your colleagues who've moved on to different places. So to reiterate the point, we are leading in the country, let alone London, in state-of-the-art investment in making our residents safe. And you have spent a great deal of time opposing that. It's great now that you've seen the light, and I'm very pleased, but it absolutely will not stand that in fact you were supportive all the time, because you were not, you were opposed to it, and it would not have happened had there been a Conservative administration. Thank you very much.
Again, my sincere apologies, Councillor Harvey. Would you like to sum up?
I would love to sum up because it's been so funny. It really has, because honestly, sometimes you just can't make up the stuff that comes from the opposition. You really can't. I've lost count of how many times I've stood here and had to push back on let's get rid of the LET. And yeah, I know the opposition are quite happy to go out and have a photo with them and promote themselves with it. It's hilarious. And equally walking down the street talking about community safety, and here we are yet again sort of, you know, looking to poke holes at things that we're doing. So just to be clear, we will have, and we do have, an ethics board. So they do look at all of what we're doing, and we have governance procedures in place. So that's all there. The Lats, as I said, and I think everyone has said, you know, you've been completely against them the whole time, and yet they are a crucial part of our crime fighting strategy, along with our CCTV network. It's wonderful to see that after, I don't know, how many years, you finally have taken an interest and you're going to go and visit the centre where the cameras are, so 3-4 years nearly. Well done. I'm pleased that you're finally taking a real interest in it. And voting against the budget, well, I've heard what everyone said. You know, it's quite funny. It's really quite funny. But I have to say, the most funniest thing here tonight as well, right? Completely talking about amnesia, talking about being utterly delusional. Right, that you've saved the front counters. Are you crazy? No, you did not. You might have set up a little petition, but let me tell you, while you were doing that, we were busy going to the people that counted and saying to them who are shutting it, don't shut it. It's really important for our residents. We spoke to our residents. We went to the commander. We went to the commissioner. We went to London councils. We were having meetings and getting on with it, and we were taking our residents' voices and making sure they were heard. So don't say that you saved it, because you certainly did not. Delusional what? I just can't believe it. So what I would just like to conclude with really is that we're investing £3.2 million investment on top of 5.4 million, on top of the millions and millions that we've been investing year on year since we were in power in 2014, led by a brilliant leader of this council, amazing cabinet, amazing councillors, really taking seriously the safety of residents in our borough. We're not here for cheap little digs. We're here to make a difference, and we're making a difference. As council said over there, our CCTV has actually contributed to arresting people who have committed murder in our borough. Without it, that wouldn't have happened. We've got the superintendent, past, Craig Knight, present one as well, all saying that our investment is incredible, that we're doing amazing stuff. We should be getting national awards. In fact, our GANS unit has just got an award. So, you know, we don't take criticism from the opposition, and we are doing amazing stuff to keep our residents safe. And I commend this report to everyone. Thank you.
Is the motion agreed? Okay. Moving now on to special motion number 3, celebrating Hammersmith and Fulham award-winning parks and commitment to green spaces. I call. Yeah, enough time. Yeah. I call on Councillor Chavot-Verdier and Trehi to move and second.
Formally moved.
Formally seconded.
Okay, I call on Councillor Chavot-Verdier and Trehi to speak for the administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hope I'm not just about to get guillotined. Yeah, an ironic twist of fate.
Speak faster.
We did invent it. Look, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to all the people who've spoken about their experiences of our parks and green spaces. It's really touching. I feel as I'm standing in on Councillor Holder's shoulders and delivering excellence, but you know, thank you for your testimonies, because that's highly motivating and rewarding to hear your stories. As you know now, Hammersmith and Fulham is now home to 25 green flag parks. That's 25, one for every meme I've received from Councillor Pater about the Louvre Museum today. 25 parks, that's 4 more green flags than in 2024. That's a green flag in Ilbrook Common, in Marcus Garvey Park, in St. Paul's Church, Open Space, and the Vicarage Gardens. Now, these awards are not just flags in the ground. They are a symbol of excellence, of care, and of our commitment to building a borough that is greener, healthier, and more inclusive. Over the past 4 years, we have invested more than 3.5 million in our 55 parks and open spaces. And we are not stopping there. Between now and 2027, you know it, told you we are investing another 1.1 million to improve lighting, footpaths, planting, and accessibility. We are also delivering an £8.3 million transformation of 95 playgrounds across our parks and housing estates, the largest in the borough's history. This is what Labour in power looks like. We invest in people, we invest in places, we invest in the future. While the Conservatives slashed local government funding and sold off public land, we have protected and enhanced our green spaces. They are not just amenities, they are lifelines. They are where children play, where neighbours meet, where communities grow. The evidence is clear. Access to green spaces reduces stress, improves mental health, and increases physical activity. Children with access to parks are 5 times more likely to be a healthy weight. In a city where air pollution and isolation are rising, our parks are a sanctuary. And they are also a statement that we believe in public space, that we believe in clean air, in biodiversity, in beauty, that we believe everyone, regardless of income or postcode, deserves access to nature. This is not just about flowers and footpaths. It's about fairness. It is about building a borough that is stronger, safer, kinder. Let us thank our incredible parks team, our friends groups, our volunteers.
Verdier.
Oh no.
Can you
Well, vive la révolution.
lift up your speech now, please? Thank you. Oh, okay. Oh, lovely.
Do you want to exercise your right?
Do you want to exercise your right to, your right to reply, or to sum up the debate? No. Okay. All the motions published and the amendments circulated at the beginning of the meeting are hereby moved and seconded. It will now take all the questions necessary to dispose of the remaining motions and reports. Okay.
Madam Mayor, could we withdraw motions 4 and 5, please?
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we withdraw motions 6 and 7.
That's it. Okay, 4, 5, 6. Lovely. That's it. Okay.
Go for it.
Special motion 3, celebrating Hammersmith and Fulham award-winning parks and commitment to green spaces. Is the motion agreed? There you go. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Meeting is closed. Thank you.